find people that basically can't make enough to eat before they go into the fields.
I don't believe that. I think that you're looking at other places that are not Central Romana.
People actually who focus on end goal like getting an orgasm never get one.
Pull up your socks and figure out what you're going to do.
Any chance we'll ever get to be a completely red state?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the future is always uncertain, whatever
but more uncertain now.
And listen, Blue Ivy is 6 years old. Beyonce's big. She tried to outbid me on a painting.
Everybody in Atlanta right now at the Louis Vuitton store, if you black, don't go to Louis Vuitton today.
In fun.
That's why you need to take a meeting with Kanye West, Bernard Arnault.
Welcome to Grubstakers, the podcast about billionaires. My name is Sean P. McCarthy, and I'm joined today by my fellow energy drink connoisseurs,
Yogi Pollywall,
Andy Palmer,
Steve Jeffries.
So today's episode is about Russell Weiner. He's the billionaire founder of Rockstar Energy Drinks, and it just so happens that his father is named Michael Weiner, better known as Michael Savage, one of the most colorful and controversial right-wing talk radio hosts of the last 40 years. And to discuss these two paragons of the American dream, we are very honored to be joined by one of the funniest podcasters around, Felix Biederman from Chapo Trap House. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love Michael Savage. So we were talking about him so much before, and going back into him has been an amazing experience for me.
Like, you're right. He has more character than any other right-wing pundit I can think of.
Yeah, we were saying before that his every other conservative radio host, it's like Hannity, where it's like he's the most charismatic scab construction worker who makes his way up. It's Limbaugh, who's like, oh yeah, I'm just like a fat pillhead, but I've always wanted to be a radio guy because it's the coolest thing to do in 1957 when I came of age. I can just right place, right time, I can get into this.
Yeah.
And then you have Michael Weiner, Michael Savage, who has an insane childhood, gets fucked by Allen Ginsberg, gets obsessed with herbs and roots, and his life and his son's life, it's like if an American conservative made The Wall. Because it's like there's so many stages and weird traumas and shit, but it's because it's America, your dad doesn't die in the war.
Right. Yeah.
Americans don't die in the war. Your dad is fighting the battle of being gay and losing every day, all the time.
I very much appreciate Michael Savage. He keeps the radio wars alive. He just recently had a tweet before Limbaugh died, mocking him for dying of cancer and complaining about it on the air.
I love when he said man up, when it's your time, it's your time. And it's an awesome thing to say for Michael, because Michael Savage, in his novels,
yeah,
he's I'm fighting against a demon inside me who's telling me to be gay. But also, it's also kind of for Limbaugh, Limbaugh is one of the worst pieces of shit ever on American radio, and just no pity for anyone. Clearly does not Michael Savage isn't a true believer either, but he thinks he is. He has to believe this shit so he isn't just running through every bathhouse in the world. That's what he thinks. He has to do this, or he's not doing that. But Limbaugh is just a salesman. He's just a scumbag, and he'll say whatever about black people, about single mothers, about anyone. And the second at the end of a very long, comfortable life, he's oh, I'm scared, goodbye. And it's yeah, no, stay consistent. And at least Michael Savage is yeah, don't be a fucking bitch, dude.
Yeah, the tweet is, Limbaugh's crying about his cancer on air. Worst 15 minutes in radio history. Spilled a large coffee all over counter and floor. And then all caps. I promise my audience this. I will not drag you down with me. Best wishes, Rush, but stop and leave the stage with dignity.
I love him.
That was great.
Now, do you think that the first lines of Howl by Allen Ginsberg were about Michael Savage?
But so, before we kind of get into the biographies of both Michael Weiner and his son, Russ Weiner, I did just want to ask you, Felix, growing up, did you have any, let's say, memories or notable experiences about Michael Savage or listening to that program?
I have a really embarrassing memory.
Sure.
When I was like 12 or 13. I was like a budding like message board little lib, and like everyone like. It's kind of like how it is today, where like people are gonna post like shit that Michael Savage said, so you can get mad at it. Like I would have never heard him anyway. I would have heard like Man Cow, but like Man Cow never. My mom would like be switching by like radio stations when I was like in the car with her, and like Man Cow would come on, and we would even then be like, "Oh, what an idiot! Like Man Cow's a loser." But like Michael Savage, he was always saying things that were so above and beyond what anyone else would say. And now, obviously, I'm like, this is the greatest man who's ever lived. But like, back then, I'm like, this is disgusting. I hate this guy. Like, he's such a rotten person, which he is. I still think he's like a rotten person, but an amazing person. But anyway, so the like corner store near my house started stocking Rockstar. And I like told the like guy behind the counter that I was like, hey, just so you know, like this is the company of like the most evil man in the world. And it's very embarrassing that I did that. But that is my main Michael Savage memory.
Yeah, it's I was kind of the same way. I was like an annoying like liberal kid, and I had this idea, I want to hear both sides. So I would like listen to Limbaugh and I would listen to Savage. And Savage was always so incredible to me because like as far as I can tell, he's the only political pundit who regularly had the dump button hit on him on the radio.
Yes.
Because like he would just get so like lathered up in these homophobic rants, and then the last like 15 seconds would just be like dump dead air.
Yeah. I would give anything for the dump tape. So when he was on like MSNBC used to be great.
Yes.
MSNBC canceled Phil Donahue and Pat Buchanan because they both agreed that we shouldn't go to war with Iraq, and they're like, fuck you two old nicks, get out of here. And they're like, you know who's awesome? This Jewish guy who like will sue anyone who says he's Jewish. And so he had a show for like 3 months, and for some insane reason they gave him callers, which is
idiotic.
Like that is like, I'm going to have Johnny Cash play at my venue in 1975, and we're just going to leave like just a bowl of heroin in front of him. He can have as much as he wants or as little, but it's just there for him. And so, yeah, he like told a caller to get AIDS and die. And even in 2003, they were like, okay, we like can't do this. You're fired.
Yeah, we have that audio drop. Some of the listeners might have heard it. But yeah, I do remember that at the time. Yes, he lost his job for telling somebody he described as a sodomite to go get AIDS and die.
I love that word.
Savage. Let's go to a caller. If you have an airline horror story, give me a ring right here on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please. Did you have a worse case than this one?
Hey, Michael Savage. Pleasure to speak with you today.
Yeah.
I was flying out of LaGuardia.
Yeah.
And there's 2 undercover security guards.
Yeah.
Somebody was smoking in the bathroom.
Someone was smoking in the bathroom.
Unbelievable.
And what happened?
Half hour into the flight, I need to suggest that Don and Mike take your... because your teeth are real bad.
All right. So you're one of those sodomites.
Yeah.
Are you a sodomite?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're one of the sodomites. You should only get AIDS and die, you pig. How's that? Why don't you see if you can sue me, you pig? You got nothing better than to put me down, you piece of garbage? You got nothing to do today? Go eat a sausage and choke on it. Get trichinosis. Okay, we have another nice caller here who's busy because he didn't have a nice night in the bathhouse, is angry at me today. Huh? Get me another one. Put another sodomite on. No more calls? I don't care. Let's go to the next scene. I don't care about these bums. They mean nothing to me. They're all sausages. Next scene. On to the next scene on the Savage Nation.
And they immediately go to commercial.
Yeah, you were putting. If you see the video, it's like immediately somebody grilling sausages. Or there's a commercial for 4th of July or some shit.
It's like the next segment is some sort of sausage grilling thing. So Savage had that on the brain, but the fact that they cut to it for like 2 seconds and they're like, commercial.
And amazing that they made it live. Like, there's no reason to do that.
Yeah, it's like they were setting him up to fail.
Oh yeah.
I like. The thing I love, I listened to like a bit of Michael Savage in preparation for this, and it is amazing because he's like Death Grips. It's like he wasn't as big as like other people, still a pretty big act, but like now everyone in that space is trying to be Michael Savage. Like every like Zoomer with like an internet show, every like edgy conservative like wants to be him, but it's not like, it's like, okay, Like you went to like Duke or something. Like you're not Mike. You're not him. You didn't live his life. You haven't felt his pain.
I wanted to ask you guys that listened to him then. Do you think the modern like conservative pundit is trying to encapsulate what Michael Savage did?
They're trying to get that real raw emotion. He was, dude. He was like, no. It's like you can never be Michael Savage because he's. Like, even if you fully believe that shit, which I think like a lot of people who are doing this now do, you're still like, you're believing it because like a combination of like when you got on the internet and like whatever happens in your adolescence and blah, blah, blah. But for him, it's like, no, I'm like fighting demons.
It's interesting, like seeing like people like JD Vance who are like trying to do that. Like Michael Savage is like Amadeus compared to this guy, where it's like so natural. And you know, the JD Vance is like going through experiments of like hinting at the 14 words in his Senate run. But you know, like a guy like this is just like he can't even stop himself if he wanted to.
No, he like. The thing that's insane about that clip is like I'm used to Savage like building up, but it shows why he's the best because he wasn't even fully into getting pissed. Right. He just like hair trigger like from the hip was like get AIDS, and like if JD Vance was gonna tell someone to get AIDS, he would like have to spend an entire day like doing jumping.
Yeah, just working himself.
Yeah, there's a Rocky montage of him training to say, "Get AIDS."
I saw like JD Vance had something today where it's like, Alex Jones is more reliable than Rachel Maddow, and that just sort of like encapsulated why he sucks.
Right.
Because it's like the people who listen to Alex Jones don't listen to him because he's like a good journalist.
Right.
Like they think he's like funny and like cool. Like they think it's like cool that he freaks out all the time. That's you're not like, oh, who's a better journalist, him or Rachel Maddow? Like that's so fucking stupid. Like he fundamentally doesn't get it. I mean, there are like two ways to go, right? It's like you're either like you're like Drake and you can always like find the median of the moment and like figure out what the meta is and roll with it and be the perfect medium point where you get the maximum amount of people, or you can be like sort of like a breakthrough and like capture enough of that sound, but like enough of your own thing to sort of set out a different course. But the third thing is the most rare, where it's like you create something entirely new. And that's Michael Savage.
Yeah.
Right. He's Death Grips.
He's a true original.
Yeah.
The one other bit I remember from my childhood is I was listening to him and he was playing audio of like the sound effect of somebody urinating, basically. Like, and he would go, "Oh, Allen Ginsberg's grave. Timothy Leary. All the red diaper doper babies are dead."
It's so great for him because that would be an amazing bit if it was just like, if he was just like, okay, my dad was like a watchmaker and I like was a shoe salesman until someone like heard me say something really racist and like I got a job on radio. But it's like, dude, you were that.
Right, exactly.
Like you like fucked all those guys.
Exactly, yes. He worked for Timothy Leary. He made love to Allen Ginsberg. He probably fucked Timothy Leary.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, so it's just like that kind of like real raw passion has to have maybe a psychosexual element that is just like missing from all these like button up, let's say like new Republicans who are trying to be Trump, and they see some consultant. They're like, how do we appeal to these people that Michael Savage and Donald Trump can talk to? And it's like, no, you have to have like, there has to be something going on in your head.
Yeah. You can't be like, it's so sad when people try to be Trump because it's like, you can try to imitate like the blood and soil shit and like the rage, but you can't get the part of him that's like, Kristen Stewart's such a bitch. Like, because you'd never think that. Like, that would never be a thought that like crossed your head. You never spend like a week being like, what? He's so handsome and he's with this stupid bitch. But like, yeah, like, did you read the letter that Savage wrote to Allen Ginsberg?
I have like an excerpt from it here.
It's awesome. I got it. Let me pull it up. I like took photos. I was so excited when I found it. I didn't even screenshot. I like took photos of my screen, but it's okay. Dear Alan, after speaking to you on the phone about how nice the black-white thing is in mountain villages in Fiji, I walk downstairs to the school courtyard where a little-known black brother looks at me, takes my hand gently, and we do some old-world Lower East Side finger tricks, and he peacefully kisses the back of my hand. I do the same for his hand, I told him about our brief talk, and he says, I must have felt the vibes. Michael Weiner.
And it's like this. Michael Savage was a granola hippie. I mean, he was born in Brooklyn, then he moves to, the village or San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like a granola hippie there in the 60s and 70s. And then by like 1980, most people say he's what he is today.
Yeah.
Which is like, psycho-conservative.
Well, and before he was in San Francisco, he's in Fiji.
Oh, yes.
And during that time, he's learning Asian remedies for all the ailments. And then, when he goes to San Francisco, he's a professor and then slowly goes into being a disc jockey. But then in that time, he's also selling like herbal life supplements as well.
Yeah.
And there's like photos of him from conferences because before he is the shock jock character, he's just the salesman selling like, hey, try this herb from Fiji that will help your dick be bigger, or, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that a guy that had to pitch to those people in conferences at one day was like, fuck this noise. I'm just going to talk shit about everything. I'm tired of being a button-up stooge.
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking explode. It's like if Billy Mays at one day was like, you know what? Fuck everything. I'm going to become a Trump-loving, fuck the liberals conservative.
I love that he got his start basically in academia.
Yeah.
Like, he just got obsessed with like ornithology or something, and he got a PhD in natural medicine.
Yeah, he went to Fiji to like study kava root,
right?
And like wrote a dissertation on it.
Yeah,
and like in the article I was reading about him, it's like he's obviously like always like a freak of a person.
Yeah,
but like around when he was in academia, he would start like that. He brought a gun to campus every day. He would like demand that people have lunch with him.
Show them the gun.
Yeah, and around after this period when he started getting on radio is when he's written like, he's one of those guys who's like, I've written 78 books. And he says in a Savage Nation, actually very Trumpian. I think he did have a little bit of a like influence on Trump. He says, these weren't just bullshit, but these were top of the line books. And they're all like it's like how to get off cocaine by like, taking herbs and shit.
Right.
But in the most important book he wrote is his novel. That's like thinly veiled autobiography. That's like, it is basically like a man's struggle with his like own homosexuality.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny. He writes this book and like 3 years before he's like on national radio being like, if you're gay, you should fucking die. Because like he doesn't even like hide it. Like the book it's his dad is basically in the book. He's in the book. Like at the end of the book, he dedicates it to his wife. And he's like, oh, it would take a great woman to be with a man who's lived this exact life that is depicted in all these stories. I did all this stuff. Because there's a part like he talks about like fucking all these guys in like Fiji and shit. And then when he gets back, he's like trying to do wellness shit and he goes jogging and he like hears a demon telling him to like go fuck men.
Yeah.
And he breaks down and cries and not even tea can help him.
That's from that Salon piece, right?
Yeah.
It's like a 30-minute Salon piece, and it really is like the expose on Michael Savage at that time. It's written in 2003, and it's wild because, this guy was huge. He was in like 200 million listeners, like 400 stations, and the fact that none of this was known about him until 2003 is just like, it's something that couldn't happen today because everything is so online, So the fact that people went from like, I like this conservative guy to, oh, he was in Fiji, to his dad had a heart attack. He was told while jogging he's gay. Like, it just is an explosion of fucking information.
And then to keep going like another like 15 years after that.
Right.
Like everyone, like imagine, like it's like he didn't even hide it. Like, I guess it's just like, he's like, well, I've written like 98 books. No one's going to find the book where it's like, I, Michael Savage, am fighting the gay demon. Like, thank you to my wife for, he does a Duterte thing. I'm like, my wife kept me from being gay. I love her. But like, I guess the thought process back then is like, it's hard for us now to think like, what was the thought process before the internet?
Yeah.
But like, I guess that's it. It's like, who's going to find that?
Yeah, I think it's similar to right now where people put out so much content Like especially like the Ben Shapiro, that type of conservative, where like every video you watch online, even if it's like make a fucking Italian pasta, there's like a Shapiro suggested type of thing. So the more content you have out, the more people just find who you are. And for Savage, it was those books.
I'm sure there's also like a group of people like also closeted and conservative who like pick up that book and read it, and he's got them now for life because they're like, that's me.
Yeah, 100. Yeah,
it's Felix, you were saying he contacted the ADL over that Salon piece.
Yeah, the Salon guy was like, so like Savage was like pretty like anti-Semitic. He like would go in on Barbara Streisand and be like, this fucking like kike, and like not like literally go like typical Savage stuff. Like probably they had to hit the dump button on that. Right. And the guy who wrote this Salon piece was like, he outed him as Jewish. It's very bad to out someone's Jewish before they're ready to come out.
Right.
A lot of suicides come from that. But Savage reported him to the ADL for outing him as Jewish.
You have to imagine the guy who worked the dump button for Savage just got carpal tunnel eventually.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So is this before 1998? Because that plays into his son's political career.
His son ran for like California State Assembly or something in 98. Yeah, we'll get to that. I did want to just mention, because you brought up the book. So he claims to have written 44 books. Most of them kind of like dry academic, but the titles include the 1991 book, The Death of the White Male. And you were mentioning, he wrote this 3-book thriller series about conservative talk show host Jack Hatfield, who's, a conservative radio host who at various points fantasizes about murdering his family and running away with a man. He also like stops various Islamic terrorist plots. Like there's a group called like the Hand of Allah or something.
That is so awesome. In your book, like that, it's like you're fighting your own demon. Yeah. It's like telling you to go to bathhouses, but it's like, oh, I have time to stop 9/11. It's such an awesome fantasy.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture him still in academia mode. He's submitting whatever like article on homeopathic medicine to a journal, and there's like reviewer or two is like giving him feedback or whatever, and he has all these. There's so much energy of these other ideas percolating. So like, how do you get from that to what he became?
I think he could when they talked about how he would like just act insane on campus, I think because academia like sucks. I've like family members who are in it, and it it just sounds awful, and it's like always been awful at various junctures for like some reasons that are the same now, some reasons that are different now. But it's like a guy like to succeed in academia, to like for that to be your track and to make it all the way to like provost or some shit. Right. Is like you really have to be good at holding things in, and we've seen that is not one of his talents.
I saw someone probably his advisor is just like you're not that guy.
yeah.
So the books, the 3-book series, thriller series on Jack Hatfield, they're called Abuse of Power, A Time for War, and Countdown to Mecca. Countdown to Mecca involves a stolen suitcase nuke as a plot device, of course. But yeah, so Abuse of Power was the first one. It tells the story of a failed carjacking that reveals a government cover-up. It's apparently based because he got like banned from the United Kingdom for obvious reasons. It's a dark plot involving British officials and a terrorist group known as the Hand of Allah. The publisher described it by saying it will make 9/11 look like child's play. But we do have an audio drop of him on his radio show reading from the sex scene of Abuse of Power. So maybe we'll just play that so you can hear how he wrote the sex scene in Abuse of Power.
Interactions between the hero and even his friend Tony, because that's part of their life. If they're macho men, wouldn't they also have a sexual life and a sensual life? Would you expect them to be department store dummies? No. Jack is with this woman late in the book, and they're having, they're really together, okay? And Jack, who liked to watch himself make love, actually fell from the bed onto the hot radiator. But like the Indian fakirs who can be on a bed of nails without later showing puncture marks, Jack did not scorch or burn, nothing visible remaining except a small soreness days later. Let me pause there. Have you ever read anything like that in a novel? It's a novel. It's original. It's not derivative. Nobody that I know of has ever written a sex scene like this. Are you ready? I'll finish. Her cries became veritable screams as she moaned, and her eyes became glassy with passion. Her screaming eventually became very threatening. Jack tried to quiet her by putting his hand over her mouth while continuing to stroke with his loins and lips. Quiet, quiet, he tried to command hoarsely. Faisal will hear you. He reached for her T-shirt and couldn't believe himself as he pressed it over her mouth, holding it down hard against her lips by pressing it against the sheets, one hand on each side of her face. Their hips were in perfect synchrony, and she continued her cries and screams, now muffled beneath the shirt, as Jack made love to her as he had never made love before. Sarah bucked and arched and was in a world he could never see. Then it was over, and they collapsed onto the bed, sweating, chest heaving. Sarah rolled toward him and snaked a hand across his chest as she nuzzled his neck. Thank you, she murmured. You don't know how long I've been wanting to do that. She smiled, kissed his neck. It couldn't have been that long. We barely know each other. And I'll stop right there. Because my point is quite simple, which is this. Women only on the Savage Nation. Women only. Did you find this scene upsetting? Abusive, offensive. Should it not have been read on radio? Did you find this abuse of power grating? Did you think it was inappropriate for me to read it on the air? After all, I am not a liberal. Now, from a liberal, you'd expect a sex scene, but of course it would be written by somebody with the inability to describe lovemaking. They would have to revert to the gutter. They'd have to use F words and dirty words and be like a dirty little boy, which is what you would expect from those on the other side of the aisle with a pen in hand.
It's so funny to just imagine, like, you go from Rush Limbaugh complaining about like the spotted owl and death panels to that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know how he had fewer listeners than him. Like Limbaugh's like, well, now it's going to be like, oh, you can rap for your food stamps. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah. But like, this is awesome. Like, this is so, are you, by the way, if you're a woman, did you like this? Is this like cool? Does this seem like a guy who enjoys heterosexual sex with this? I love the scene itself because it's like the woman in that scene, while he's fucking her, it's like, it might as well be like a horse.
Sure.
Like it's just like, it's like, you would write that if you were like fucking a woman and pretending she was anybody else.
There is like an air of like, God, I'm fucking good. Like the amount of ego in him reading his own sex scene is almost more like palpitating than the scene itself. He's so excited to be able to share this.
There's also that like kind of subtle, like he never made love before.
The thing in the beginning where it's like he fell in the radiator, but there were no burn marks, like the Indian stepping on the nails. Like what physics are you describing here? There were a soreness a few days later. Why even include that? Why do you give a shit?
It is, that part is so, it's like it show he's an artist in a way that Limbaugh isn't. Like Limbaugh is like the guy who's the best at like doing caricatures on the boardwalk.
It's complete Philistine compared to this.
This is like, he's like jumping around time frames in the same paragraph. Okay, so like, is he fucking this woman, or like we're going to 3 days ahead where it's like, we don't know how good he's fucked the woman yet, but we're already talking about how, like, isn't it amazing that he fell in a radiator and there's just a small bruise? Right. Like, why did we jump ahead like 4 days for that? But then the sex scene itself is so weird. Like the dialogue after the sex scene where it's like, you have no idea how long I've been waiting to do that. We've only known each other a few days. Limbaugh is just nothing compared to him. He's fucking nobody. He's a loser. Limbaugh could never do this.
There's like, we didn't play it, but there was a little bit before where he's talking about like, you wouldn't think that I have like feelings because I'm like a conservative or whatever.
It's like, no, I think you have too many feelings. I think that's your problem.
He just reads his fucking sex scene on air.
I urge the listener, go check out Michael Savage, Abuse of Power, Jack and Sarah Make Love by the Radiator, because it's only got 210 views, which is criminally low when you think about it. In the world of YouTube, come on, you got to get this hits.
We need to get like Zoomers into Michael Savage because it's like Westwood One canceled his podcast this year.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's like because of low listeners or just like he said something insane again. But it's like he should be like this should be like the new thing that everyone's into.
It is something that, like I mentioned, since I didn't know it then, I have to look at it with that 20 years lens, and it's so perfect. Of like, oh yeah. People were fucking animals in terms of what we're listening to in our car. Like, people are driving, listening to Savage read his fucking sex book. I'm just delivering pizzas and listening to a guy fuck a woman in a book. Yeah.
Well, it's incredible to me because it's like, it's really the shock jock era. It's incredible to me that he could get advertisers for this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I listen to like most modern right-wing pundits like Ben Shapiro. You just want to slug in the face. It's extremely unpleasant. He's an annoying, warmongering little worm. It was not entertaining at all. Like it don't enjoy. But I listen to Savage. I'm like, this rocks. Like
he's amazing. Well, it's like the only guy I can compare to Savage in terms of like his own personal demons.
Yeah,
is Steven Crowder, and Steven Crowder is like a no talent.
Yeah,
he has nothing. Like it's like, dude, you're fighting those. You are fighting so many demons. It's like your body is like trying to kill you. You like once a month, you're like, oh, I'm like putting on a dress to like, oh, would Black Lives Matter like this? It's like, so you're just like clearly like fighting some demons, but he's never achieved like this level of artistry.
No.
He's just, because Steven Crowder, for all his like demons he's fighting and for all his like hate, he's still like, he's like Drake. It's like, okay, you're a fucking child actor. You haven't really had any interesting experiences in your life. But Michael Savage, like, he walked the earth before he died. He tried everything. He tried everything to like kill that demon in his mind. And he was like, I can't kill it. I just have to like unleash it on the world. Steven Crowder is just like, he's like, oh, I didn't get to become as big of an actor as I could.
Right.
Here's why black people are stupid. And it's like, this sucks. Like, you suck, dude.
By the way, stepping back to his MSNBC, like, I hope you get AIDS thing. Here's a book by Michael A. Weiner, PhD. Maximum Immunity: How to Fortify Your Natural Defenses Against Cancer, AIDS, Arthritis, Allergies, and Other Immune Deficiency Diseases.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In that book, he says like that to fight AIDS, we need to give like gay guys vitamin C.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he would always like it when his callers called him Dr. Savage. He has this PhD.
There's no, like, it's so, I guess it's like everything, right? Like,
yeah,
movies are like, there's a certain level of like shittiness they can't quite be, but there's also like a very definitive like middle ceiling on them because everything's owned by like 2 or 3 companies and everything has to like reach the maximum amount of audience, and there will never be like a level of experimentation you're just not going to see. And you see the same thing with conservative pundits. They're all basically funded by like the same like 4 assholes.
Right. Yep.
And it's like, yeah, if you're like a Coke or like a Miriam Adelson, it's like, okay, I'm not going to get too crazy here. I'm just going to I'm going to have this like whiny fucking Orthodox kid or like Steven Crowder or Dave Rubin. I'm not going to find a guy who's like 45 and like has literally like gone to the other side of the world to try to find like he's gone to like a tribe,
right?
And like a tribe of people, and been like, please, do you have like a root that will keep me from having gay sex? And they're like, try this. It's kava. It's like cool. And he's like, oh, thanks.
It's so true though, like what you're saying there, because it's like Michael Savage is like, he's a repulsive human, but he's a human.
Yes.
Whereas you see like a guy like Shapiro, like just a worm. Like you don't even, they're so like cookie cutter. There's no, and again with the movies, you go like to see a movie, you want that feeling of connecting with the human experience. You're going through your life and you see this like Marvel bullshit. I mean, that's not the human experience, and like that humanity, these real personalities have been driven out of conservative punditry.
It's so sad. And it's like, yeah, like I get depressed when we watch like Marvel movies for the show.
Yeah.
And I like think they're really fun episodes, but like watching the movie itself makes me depressed because it's like this is such like a smoothed out experience.
Of
Like,
course.
it just makes me feel like shitty. Like I don't. It's like it's like how you feel when you wake up after taking an Ambien. But like we watch a lot of Christian movies too, and I love that. Like I have the best time in the world because it's like when you see those movies and you see how they like fuck up, it's like that's a very human error that they made. Like there's a boom mic visible, or like there's a storyline they introduced halfway through the movie that had no real introduction. Like, oh yeah, our friend Jerry the soldier killed the local gay guy. And it's like, who are these characters? And it's like you see the very human flaws and like the gulf between what they were trying to do and what they're able to do. That's like that void is humanity.
Yeah, I think it's like it's polish versus grit. Savage has grit. You can see the flaws in his fucking face and just in his life. But all these other cats, they're just safe. That's really what it is. It's like it's almost made for the suburbs.
Yeah.
Can you scare the suburbs and entertain them? Then you are what we want to pay for right now. Which is weird because you would think that more people with grit would just be like, these guys are idiots. Let me fucking do anything. But it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You think it's because like the money people, they just don't want something that crass. Like they don't want to fund that.
Yeah, because it's like, Daily Wire, that's funded by the Wilkes brothers. We did an episode about them. They're like land enclosure billionaires.
Yeah.
They're like fracking billionaires, but they go into like Idaho and they literally just put gates on public roadways and enclose it and put private security there and say, hey, fuck you, this is ours now. Right. We know the Civilian Conservation Corps built this trail here, but this is ours now, and we have more money. We own the state government. They're not going to do anything about it. Call the fucking local attorney general. He's not going to do anything about it. And it's like, yeah, these people are, they're so evil and they fund Daily Wire as their little propaganda outlet. They don't want a guy like Savage who's going to bring more attention to them. They want like these little like Shapiro and these other guys who are there, Michael Knowles or whatever. They're just the most boring people imaginable. They'll do your propaganda and they won't bring you unwanted attention.
Mm-hmm.
They want like failed actors.
Yeah.
I've noticed so many conservative stars now are like failed actors. And it's so interesting to me because I feel like one of the most interesting things about like contemporary life in America, and it's something, there are a few things that I'm writing that I'm trying to capture this in, that everyone now wants a media career.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's like such an interesting, like, what stage are we in that we're doing that like everyone from like the FBI agent who is entrapping like mentally ill, Americans to fucking like, like a cop who had a viral moment to like, to people who are in high school, like everyone wants this. It's fucking insane. It's so like, it's just such a sign of like a social rot and evil. And so like, even like this thing that's very like the Wilkes brothers, you can tell they're like, they sit down and they make this very like evil calculation where it's like, okay, well, like we need like 35% of the people to always like vote in our way, so we can like have like a Larry Craig type who's always going to allow us to like put gates on public land and like do all this shit, and like we're never going to get a majority of people, but we can like drive a wedge if we have this like media thing that never makes money but always like activates a base and like, keeps people involved even when they feel disillusioned. And who am I going to find for that? I'm going to find like someone who is has always wanted a media career, like a typical American who's like bitter about it. And they'll ride for me for like change in my back pocket, basically. I can give one of these fucking losers, like I can give them like a sponsorship for like a rechargeable battery company owned by veterans for like $70K a quarter.
Yeah.
And that's like nothing to me. And I can keep like doing this until, we can buy all the land in Duluth, Minnesota for when the coasts are uninhabitable, and I can repopulate the earth in my image. And it's like, I think that people doing it, like Michael Knowles is like a failed actor and screenwriter. And it's like, he probably knows, like, you have some idea that you're like being used, that you're like a fucking stupid dupe, that you're just like you're this little pawn man for these guys that run the world. but you're still like, well, I have a media career now. I have an audience.
Right.
Yep.
But like, there's no like human, like if there was like, if like George Soros had been like, hey, Michael Knowles, like in 2005, like I want you to do like a pro-choice, like shock jock show, he would have done it.
Yeah.
All these guys would have gone the other way. They just want to be famous. And Michael Savage clearly like always wanted to be famous and recognized as being like a genius. But he's doing it for like, because he's fighting those demons.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
because he really, before he was famous, like did develop all these unique fucked up things to say and developed his own voice. Meanwhile, these other people, I mean, I think the quality of sort of like being like a cipher, like a certain level of nothingness, it's like the dark soul in Dark Souls. That's sort of like the evil part of humanity you need to like really succeed in media. It's what makes like the best interviewer in the world is always going to be like, there's a little bit of nothingness there.
Yeah.
Like Larry King, like Howard Stern. I'm like the biggest Howard Stern fan, but there's like a little bit of nothingness there.
Oh yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing like bad about that. It's what makes a great actor, but that's a part of all of us. There's a part of all of us that always like accommodates the people around us and figures out what people want to hear and figures out the exact right thing you need to say to someone for you to get things out of them if you're interviewing them. And everyone's always going to have it. It's part of being a human. Again, it doesn't make you evil to have, but like these guys are just all darkness. They're all cipher. They're all the dark soul. You need the balance. They don't have the balance. Michael Savage had the balance. He had like, there's also like the search for light. Like he's searching for like in his own fucked up way. He's like searching for love.
And you can hear it in his rants and craziness.
Yeah.
And I think like with all these other people, like what rich people are trying to do is it's just like, it's the Reagan model. Like they're trying to have all these little Reagans that they can control.
Yep.
Who are just going to read the script and do what they want. And of course, Savage isn't going to read the script.
One of my favorite Larry King interview moments is he's interviewing DJ Khaled, and DJ Khaled's talking about like his come up basically. And he's like, so we did this and that, and Larry King just goes, so how'd you gain all the weight? Just cut the bullshit. Why are you fat? And there is an air of like King is like a child in how he interviews, which you need because a normal person will be like, I can't just ask a guy why he's fat.
Yeah.
But Larry King's like, no. You have to do this. Like, what's the first thought in my head? And right now it's, this guy seems confident, but he's a fat ass and I don't know why.
His interview with Morrissey is like the best video online. It's he starts out the interview by being like, why is your band called the Smiths? None of you are named Smith. He like, it's the best Morrissey interview ever because it's like anyone else would be thinking like, how do I not like, this guy's so temperamental. How do I get him not to walk out? And Larry King's like, so do you like still want to kill yourself? And it like disarms Morrissey. Like I love Morrissey, but he's like such a prick. And it like totally, King's like cipherness is like childlikeness, like disarms Morrissey.
Yeah, because
it's awesome.
It doesn't matter how much of an ego you have. You notice that they're not asking me because they're being a dick. They're just genuinely curious.
Exactly.
Like, and so it reverts your ego into humanity where you're like, well, okay, I guess I'll explain this to you. And that is, I think Savage has that.
Yeah. I have a few quick facts here about his son and about Rockstar Energy. This is Russ Weiner, the founder of Rockstar Energy. This comes courtesy of Forbes magazine. I'll just like give a couple facts here, and then we can go back if there was anything we wanted to talk about on Michael Savage's biography himself. But it should be noted, his son was born in 1970, and his full name is Russell Golden Cloud Weiner.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he's like, he was a granola hippie when he had his kid. And Russell Golden Cloud Weiner is, according to Forbes, worth $4.1 billion US as of September 2021. And that is because he founded Rockstar Energy in 2001. He sold it to PepsiCo for $3.85 billion in April 2020. So, if you buy Rockstar Energy out there, you don't have to feel bad about supporting Michael Savage. Yeah, you're just supporting the perfectly nice corporation Pepsi.
That's right.
Which is only, engaged in privatizing water in the drought-stricken global South. So you don't have to feel bad about it anymore, at least. But yeah, Rockstar Energy, I guess for those who don't know, it's really always been a distant third in the energy drink market. First is Red Bull, second is Monster, and Rockstar Energy was third. It sold about, according to Forbes, $851 million worth of sales in 2019. And kind of like his innovation there, like he did very little. He obviously hired somebody to make all the flavors and shit. But what he figured out is like Americans like soft drinks. So like, Red Bull comes in those tiny little cans. Rockstar comes in these big like 16-ounce cans. So he just like sold more soda to Americans as an energy drink, and it made him a billionaire.
Do you have the thing in there about how the genesis of Rockstar, the first time anyone ever saw it, it was on Michael Savage's website as a liver cleanser?
That's right. That's right. Yep.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. It's awesome. I love this story because like the dad's like a freak.
Oh,
but the son is like, okay, like I'm growing up rich. Like my dad through like just bearing his soul to the world and saying these awful things. I'm afforded like a very comfortable, like upper class American lifestyle. But my passion's business. I don't have the demons my dad does, because I'm like, even if you are Michael Savage, it's like everyone rich is like, you're raising your kids with a certain level of like softness and comfort. And it is beautiful that Michael Savage, with all his demons, is like incorporating, like his son clearly is like, yeah, I need this $1 billion business idea. And his dad's like, I'll help.
Yeah.
Like it's like a Jewish dad's still a Jewish dad. Right. They're still going to support their number one boy. It's beautiful.
And from that Salon piece on Michael Savage, Savage says that I was raised on neglect, anger, and hate, he writes in the Savage Nation.
Oh, I couldn't tell. So you had a normal life.
But growing up with little parental approval or praise was a good thing, he says. Frankly, that's why I'm driven the way I am. And with Russ, his son, he does have his mom, who for the most part seems relatively normal.
Yeah,
she definitely drives the like.
We couldn't find the video, but somebody on your replies Twitter, Felix, was saying that there was a video of Michael Savage and his wife leaving some restaurant in San Francisco and getting confronted by a reporter. And apparently his Michael Savage's wife screamed something at this reporter to the effect of, "Go back to communist China, you communist."
Dude, that's a ride or die.
It really is.
Dude, I'm trying to find an evil woman like that.
On this like 15th anniversary of the Savage show, his wife comes on. This is his second wife, Janet, who we're talking about. And Michael Savage is like, Janet, what do you think of the show? And she's like, oh, well, can I be honest? Or no, Michael Savage goes, you can be honest. I won't get mad. I promise. And Janet very quickly just goes, yep, quick to anger, quick to forgive. And that's such a telling line about Michael Savage himself, that he will explode on you for like an hour, but then in 30 seconds be like, okay, so anyway, what are we going to do for dinner tonight?
Yeah, that's what I love about him is like, I've met guys like him all throughout my life. Like there's like a certain level of like, in Game of Thrones, like the Targaryen family madness.
Right.
All Jewish men have it. Like, we all get it when we get older. It all shows up in some way. And for most of us, it's like you like cry at a baseball game for some stupid ass reason.
Sure.
You're like, you get really into like, you like do an alternate history. You're like, what if Michael Dukakis was actually really good? What if he won? And my dad did it. Like, we all do it.
Sure, just overly obsessed with something.
And a part of that is just like hair trigger. And I don't know why that is, but it's never like violent. It's just like very emotional. And then it's like within 20 minutes, it's like, have you noticed that like Potbelly isn't as good anymore? Like, what the fuck is that? But yeah, no, I think that's why I have like a special like cultural affinity to him. Even though he'll like sue me if I'm like he's a Jewish man.
Sure, right,
like,
of course.
It is, quick to anger, quick to forgive. And I think that's probably for young Russ, that's probably what it was like. It was like
certainly.
Russ was like, I'm going to like some bullshit like California school. I had to, I had to read like the Combahee River Collective Manifesto or something. And he's like, what the fuck? They're making you shit on the American flag. You're going to kill me. You're going to grow up to be a sodomite and you're going to fucking put AIDS in me. You fucking... And then like 20 minutes later, it's like, so any girls in school?
But I think like during that rant, you see Janet's in the background just like shaking her head like silently, just like, no, it's not that we're... And that's why Russ is so just a business prone. He's like, I'm going to make a fuckload of money. Instead of be a psychopath always, because he's got a little bit of the balance. Some quick facts on Michael Savage. Born March 31st, 1942. He's 5'3", which makes sense.
I didn't know that. I figured like 5'6", but like, dude, they used to make them small back then. They really did.
Another thing at Felix's replies, because you had that tweet, and there was a lot of great stuff, a lot of replies in there, but apparently, like, Donald Trump was on the phone with him, and Donald Trump made fun of short people, and Michael Savage told him he was going too far.
I love, like, all the shit that Michael Savage says about everyone.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, you can't control me. I couldn't find any pictures of Savage and Trump together.
Yeah.
That would be fun because you can't take that away from Trump. He is tall.
There's one of like Trump, Savage, and Michael Savage and his son. I'll see if I can find it.
There's like a foot difference.
Easily. Trump's like 6'3".
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
Trump could have been like a lineman.
I think so.
Imagine Savage next to his son.
Oh, is his son big?
Yeah, his son is 6 something, I think.
Barron.
No, Barron. I know Barron's huge, but
Barron,
I was like, what's Russ's size? Not.
Oh yeah, here it is. All right, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it looks like
Savage
he's
is
standing
wearing
on
lifts.
his tippy. Yeah, he's definitely wearing lifts.
He's wearing lifts. Yeah,
and yeah, that's the son Russ and some other
He's
business
doing
man.
a Sarkozy.
That's balls by Michael Savage, because it's like Trump only hangs out with guys who are like tall. Like that's his like stupid thing, is that he just loves tall men. And so it's like if he goes there, Michael Savage is going to be at everyone's like belt line. But it's like, no, I gotta go there. I have to like go there. His thing with Trump is he tried to get Trump to like protect wildlife. Like he was one of those conservatives who's like, no, we have to like protect elephants, even though your sons kill them. Like literally, your son's favorite thing to do is like kill those things. And he never succeeded.
Yeah,
he never got Trump to protect wildlife. No. Never. But he's like, no, it's like it is. I compared Michael Savage to Keitel in Bad Lieutenant, just like emotionally. But that is like, that's him going to the church. That's him putting the guys on the bus. Like all this shit I've said and done, and like birthing another like evil billionaire into the world, I can undo it if I like save one elephant's life, and he can't. No ability to. Like the second he tells Trump, it's just out his ears.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Right. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Who's that?
Yeah,
who's that guy
the
again?
demons coming into play there.
The demons stop. Do the demons want to like
him fighting them? I mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's like, I mean, like, according to him, it would be like, hey, I've like when he talked to Trump, he's like, hey, like conservation and conservative like come from the same root. Like we, Teddy Roosevelt like protected this wildlife, blah blah blah. But I really do think it's like I need to leave like something good on the marker,
right?
Because like a guy that tortured like knows that he's bad. You know what I mean?
They're
like,
self-aware.
Yeah, he knows that he's kind of a piece of shit. Like you don't feel that bad all the time, and you don't know.
It's kind of impossible because there is like from the Salon piece we've been referring to here. He grew up in the Bronx and then he went to Jamaica High School, Queens, and some guy said that he was on the short side and he was intense, a fast talker, and always hatching some scheme or other. The fellow I knew was a natural comic and as reliable as a clock, which doesn't really make sense, but it's also kind of like, yeah, he's the pretty standard person, if you know what I mean. And then so after college or after high school, he went to Queens College to get a biology degree. And this says Wiener was also something of a dreamer, and he had hoped to follow in the footsteps of his hero, the naturalist Charles Darwin.
Oh.
And so he would go to Oahu, Hawaii, where he'd get a master's degree in anthropology and botany. And then after that, in the 1960s, like we've mentioned, through 70s, he traveled to Tonga, Fiji, and other South Pacific island nations to study traditional herbal medicines. Around this time, he would marry his wife, Janet, but he had been divorced from Carol Eli. He was married to her for 3 years and then got divorced and married this lady, Janet.
Oh, I wonder why. Just knowing this guy's personality, I have no idea why he would go through a divorce.
And so, like, during that time in Fiji's when he may or may not have fucked Allen Ginsberg, he probably fucked him, let's be honest.
There's supposed to be a photo of them skinny dipping together.
Right. There's a photo of them skinny dipping in Fiji, which, thinking about 1970s photo technology and the fact that someone's like, hey, they're skinny dipping, let me take a photo, is you just must have been in just fucking gay orgies at that time.
I'll put it this way. Like, I don't think many people like traveled across the world and met Allen Ginsberg and were like, oh, I'm into this guy, and like didn't fuck him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that wasn't a thing. You didn't like go up to that line and be like, all right, see, good to meet you.
Right.
It's not like meeting a podcaster. You have to get the full experience. It's like when people would do Doug Walker's shitty bits to him, and you'd have to be like, yeah.
So then in 74, he goes to San Francisco. His family lives in Fairfax, and Savage on his show would describe it as Unfairfax.
Damn.
Hometown of Taliban rat boy, John Walker Lind. And then he made trips to San Francisco and started hanging out with North Beach literary scene.
Apparently, also, we mentioned it earlier, but around 67, when he married his current wife, Janet, Timothy Leary hired him to work on the Hitchcock Cattle Company estate in Millbrook, New York. Apparently, Leary hired him because Savage did not use LSD. And I guess, whatever he was doing up there.
He wasn't cool, man.
He was probably making LSD for the CIA or whatever. But yeah, it is just kind of like a weird, again, psychosexual thing where it's like, he seems to hate Allen Ginsberg and Timothy Leary a lot for, being ex-boyfriends or whatever the case might have been.
Yeah, he hates them in a way, like, it's because there are other people from the hippie movement. And like, how many of Savage's listeners would even know who Allen Ginsberg is?
I don't know. Yeah, probably none of them.
It's like Savage's listeners were like, it's like the typical conservative radio listenership where it's like some of the people who voted for Reagan on the Upper East Side who probably know who he is. It's like some like, Missouri pig people who like, have a golf course where it's like, no sagging your pants. One of those signs up in every bar they go to. And it's like, they probably don't know who that is. It's truck drivers. That's like like, I'd say the biggest characteristic difference between conservative radio and like conservative media now is the class component of the audience.
Yeah.
Because there's like truck drivers and shit that would listen to Limbaugh and stuff. And it's like, they don't know either. Yeah. So it's like, it's like for him mainly. They'll know who Timothy Leary is because Timothy Leary is like a big like cultural figure, but like Ginsberg not as much. And it's like, you could talk about Abby Hoffman, you could talk about the Weather Underground, and he did talk about these guys, but not like, it wasn't like a personal hatred in this same way. These were people who he had, let's just say, some type of relationship with.
Right. And just a classic huckster is how the Salon piece paints him at this time, where he's like carrying a gun all the time, forcing people to get dinners with him, and then like writing books about the benefits of herbal remedies and then also selling them. So it's not even like it, the books, I think in the beginning, are a vessel for the things that he's trying to sell. And then the show becomes a vessel for the books. Like, it's not like they one necessarily goes to the other, but you can't fact check everything. No one's going to listen to hundreds of hours of radio show, read all of the books, and then check all the ingredients. Yeah. And that is what begins him being like, fuck this leftist world that is San Francisco and the granolas. I'm going to become the most aggressive radio host. And in this, it talks about a poet that knew Ginsberg that said that Michael Savage had dreamed of becoming a stand-up comic in the mold of Lenny Bruce, and they talked of doing a comedy routine together. And that's like, when you come to the modern day conservative pundits, they're failed actors. Michael Savage is a bit of a failed comic. He would never become that guy, but he was fucking perfect.
I think he could have been like, I honestly think he could have been very good.
Yeah.
I like, because there was clearly like some level of like, he is one with his emotions when he's performing. He is a performer.
Right, certainly. No, I think that he's definitely an outstanding performer, but in San Francisco in the 70s, for him to do what he was trying to do, people were like, this isn't it, man. But he perfected it.
Yes.
He went, fuck that noise. I know this is good.
He bombed for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
10,000 hours.
Here's kind of inspirational.
What I think is so interesting about this article is that one of the guys who knew him, who's like, oh, Michael's a piece of shit. Very interesting. This guy named Steven Schwartz. Steven Schwartz, for people who are neocon watchers like me, Steven Schwartz is, yes, yet another former trot, former SDS, who became a founder of FDD, Foundation for Defense of Democracy.
Right.
And I found it very interesting. Because this is sort of about like Jewish boomer identity crisis. And for Savage, I think it's very conspicuous that all his books, all his works, like pre-politics, are about cleansing.
Yeah.
They're about purging.
Mhm.
They're about breaking addictions.
Right.
And it's like he wants to wash away this stain of like sort of like frou-frou, like middle class radicalism through a cleanse.
Yeah.
He wants to fight his own he wants to cleanse his demons. He wants to get sober from this. He through the act of reduction, he is going to become the man he is supposed to be. But then you have a guy who kind of feels the same thing. This guy, Stephen Schwartz, who thinks he's so different from Michael Savage, who thinks he's so much better than him. And he is doing this through addition. He's like, no, what if I take Trotskyism and I add all these elements and boom, I have neoconservatism. And it's like, I'm normal now. I'm not like screaming and crying on the radio. I'm not like fighting demons. But it's like, no, you are the demon.
Yeah, exactly. It like even the whole rock star will clean your liver. Like that it screams to the purging of like the badness inside of you. Because that market of there's shit inside of you that's bad and I can get it out is $1 trillion industry. Like, there's nothing about that.
But that's the generational shift, because Michael Savage's like things are, you have to cleanse, you have to purge, you have to reduce, you have to break down everything around you. You have to take the oils that surround your body and break them down and wash them off, and then you can be you.
Right.
And you is correct. But the son, who's making things for millennials and like Xers and shit, it's like, no, you're like, fuck, you need new things.
Right.
You're basically like, you're operating at half capacity.
Yeah,
You don't have piranha. What the fuck? You don't have taurine, you fucking bitch. Like, you need new things. Like you suck, and you always have to keep adding new things. And if you don't, you're not, like, if you don't drink all this soda,
right,
good luck getting a promotion. Good luck being good at sports.
By the way, just a note, in 2013, according to this Politico article, after Janet Weiner testified to the Senate about the safety of Rockstar, they say FDA last year reported 40 illnesses and 5 deaths linked to Monster Energy and 13 illnesses and 2 lasting disabilities linked to Rockstar Energy.
Dude, imagine if you were like, I don't want to, like, I'm going to bet that the guy who got disabled from Rockstar was a veteran. Because those are like, I knew like veterans back when I lived in the Midwest, and it's like, they love, there's a group of people that loved Rockstar. Me and my friends, we were monster boys. I'm still a monster boy.
Yeah.
You're a veteran, you're fucking with Rockstar. And it's like, imagine you're in like 5th Special Forces or some shit, and you survive like, you were like in SWAT Valley like 20 years ago. You're like, you've done all this shit, and it's like you get back, there's like nothing physically wrong with you, and then you're just like, you're in the VFW like in a wheelchair, and they're like, oh, IED, and you're like, not exactly. Like, not really isn't what happened.
I wanted to just like say a couple things about Rockstar, because it is so funny that he was selling this as like a cleansing juice on his website or whatever. So he sold it to Pepsi in April 2020. Pepsi has apparently changed the formula, probably to like make it kill people less. But there's on Wikipedia, the last time I looked this up, I don't know if it's still there, there's a sentence to the effect of, there have been numerous fan complaints about Pepsi changing the formula and making the flavor worse. And then it says citation needed. I'm like, Russ Weiner wrote that shit.
I mean, to prepare for this episode, I got some Rockstars, and they didn't taste that. I mean, I'm also a monster boy. They did not taste up to snuff in my estimation.
I used to, like, in a pinch, I drank it. I remember when I was like 20, me and my friends were like, it was like, we're going to listen to Tyga and like drink as much energy soda as possible and like smoke Camel Crushes and shit. And it was like, at the time I was like, ooh, this is pretty fun, because it's like, it tastes a little bit different from Monster.
Right.
But like, I do want to try it again. I do want to, because I do feel like, that's the final thing, is that Russ is making something for his audience where it's like, no, this may kill you, but it's like, you're going to be a rock star.
That's right.
And he's like, no, we like can't, like, we can like give people diabetes over the course of like 40 years. We can't like instantly kill them. Like, no.
And then just a couple other things. Rockstar Original was named the worst energy drink by Men's Health magazine for having 280 calories due to 67.5 grams of sugar. And then from eatthis.com, they quote Jessica Mason, who's the founder of Kitchen Habit. She says, quote, a large can of Rockstar contains as much as 59 grams of sugar, which is the equivalent of 15 teaspoons.
Oh my, yeah. And like 275 milligrams of caffeine.
Right. Yeah.
Like Bang should probably be taken off the market. Bang's 300. It's not that much further ahead.
Oh my
Now,
God.
I looked at Janet Weiner's statement to the Senate Commerce Committee, and she says that ounce for ounce, actually, Rockstar doesn't have as much caffeine as Starbucks Pike Place Blend.
Okay.
You know, I actually have a theory about the whole Pepsi ruining the Rockstar brand, because I used to drink Rockstar juice when I worked at a grocery store. And
I remember that shit.
I went on a road trip recently and I tried it and it was disgusting. And I was like, this is fucking weird. So I looked at pissedoffreviews.com on Rockstar and everyone is like, the new formula sucks, it's terrible. But for me, the reason Pepsi spent the money they spent on Rockstar is because Red Bull's its own thing, but I think Coke owns Monster.
Yeah.
And Pepsi wants their foot in the door on energy drinks. But Pepsi's not going to prop up Rockstar. They're going to probably take the flavors and put it in some Mountain Dew energy drink
Absolutely.
hybrid. And so to do that, they have to whittle down the Rockstar fans by poisoning the well, if you will, here. And it's kind of genius because, why would you buy a company and then make them more profitable? You already own it. Who gives a fuck?
By the way, one last note. In 2013, after the Senate investigation into energy drinks, Rockstar hired the Podesta Group to lobby.
Yes. Dude, coming together. Like, I love this. You know, Rockstar tried to heal division.
That's right.
They really did. The Obangler divided us. But Rockstar was trying to like bring us together.
That's right.
Rockstar, obviously, Savage Family Project.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
Now owned by Pepsi, like wicked in its own way. Red Bull, it's from the Netherlands. We're going to assume it was founded by like descendants of the founders of the Dutch East India Company.
Right.
Like, how could you not, of course, assume that? It would be cool if Monster was like, and I know, like, no listeners correct me. No one tell me like, oh, it's like, it's owned by Coke. Yeah, I know it is. What if that was the one where it's like, oh no, this is like made and bottled in like Rajava. This is like community owned.
Right.
It's like the one good one. That would be awesome. I would love, because it's like, man, I bought so much Monster in my life. I fucking love Monster.
It's delicious.
Villagers
It's so good.
handpick the Monster plants that they lovingly grow.
Monster is funding and arming armed feminists battle groups in Rojava.
It would be
the basest thing possible.
It would be so cool, and that's like why Turkey wants that territory. Like, it's like we need we have this we have all this public debt, like we have this high unemployment, like no one's buying our textiles. We need Monster,
Right.
Like we need Monster. We need like the monster plants that grow in Kurdistan.
I thought it might be interesting. I have the photo of a back of a Monster can. I think this is the old ingredients, but I'll just see if I can pronounce all the ingredients. Or sorry, the
This is
back of a
Rockstar?
Rockstar can.
By the way, the leaf, it's that M shape.
Yeah. So the ingredients in a Rockstar are the triple filtered carbonate water, sucrose, glucose, citric acid, taurine, natural and artificial flavors, sodium citrate, caffeine, caramel color, benzoic acid, sorbic acid, L-carnitine, inositol, niacinamide, calcium pantheonite, milk thistle extract, guarana seed extract, panax ginseng root extract, riboflavin, peroxidine, hydrochloride,
Natural ingredients.
yeah, and cyanocobalamin. So those are the ingredients in a Rockstar until Pepsi changed the flavor.
We were extracting like 70% of those ingredients in Afghanistan. That's what we were doing over there. We were making Rockstar. God damn, that's so much shit.
That's why the British BBC was freaking out, because they just drink nothing but Rockstar over there.
That is, I don't know if that's true, but it feels true.
Yeah,
they're so fucked up that they're like, no, this is the good energy. Right. Everything else sucks. It's the worst one.
They know that the Taliban's gonna like burn all the Rockstar fields.
Oh man,
I was in the UK, and it was like probably the most unhappy I've ever been on tour. Like I loved Manchester. Manchester's awesome. London, it's like the most unhappy I've ever been.
London's fucking evil, dude.
I felt awful all the time over there, and like their flavors of Coke Zero, it's like this like fucked up like raspberry flavor. It's like yeah, man, that is a place without God. Hell is just hell. You know, I don't believe hell is like fire and brimstones. That's like a modern invention. It's a place without God. It's London. Hell is London. It's the worst fucking place I've ever been. I've been to some hopeless places in America.
Right.
I've been to, you know, even Trump could not bring the jobs back to these places. It didn't feel as bad as London feels fucking bad.
I think it kind of goes back to what we're saying about the pundits. It's too polished.
Yeah.
It's too sterile. You know what I think about? It's like, have you ever been to like a lens crafters? They have like that sterile room where it's like, we're not scientists, but we're making glasses. And anytime I'm in a place like that, I'm just kind of like, I don't know what this needs to be, but it doesn't have to be this clean. You guys can fucking relax.
No, you need germs.
You need germs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in 2015, Roberto Saviano, who's the author of Gomorrah, he's hunted by the mafia because he wrote these very accurate books about the drug trade. But in 2015, he said London is now the global money laundering center for the drug trade.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's like, you know,
The home of HSBC?
Yes. It was very confusing to me. I was like, why are the British so much angrier about anybody else about us withdrawing from Afghanistan? It's like, yeah, because London finance is like propped up by the drug trade and laundering that money.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you just kind of notice when you like look at as many, I guess, money laundering cases as we've done here.
Yeah,
it always comes back to London.
Yep.
Yeah.
Specifically the city.
Yeah.
It's on the whenever I'm on the Upper East Side, I like it because there's like a familiar evil to like a very like American evil, you know, where it's like, oh, these are all like mummies who like voted for Reagan and like reluctantly voted for Trump. Like it's an evil place, but it's like if a guy in a Dracula costume came out to scare you and was like, and it's like, I see people there and it's like, man, even if you did profit from 9/11, like you're just a fucking old man.
Yeah.
And like, and like every time I'm on the Upper East Side, I do see like at least one thing that's like eyes wide shut evil that like just like in the corner of your eye. Like last time I was there, I saw like, there was a girl in like a wedding dress sitting in front of like a store with like closed scaffolding, like on her knees crying and her friend just standing over her. And I was like, what the fuck? What? I don't see this happen anywhere else.
Right.
But it's like, I guess for me, I'm like, well, this is American evil. I know what it is. Even when I don't know what it is, I know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand it. This like sort of bad feeling I get, I kind of like it.
Her friend's just waiting for her to stop.
Yeah. But like, I guess in London, it's just like, I'm not English. So when I felt their evil, I was like, ugh. Even though it's like, you know, it's the same thing.
It's like the British.
They're all laundering money and profiting off 9/11 and shit. But like, I guess I just, you know, our evil feels better to us.
It's like the British office versus the American office. It's different, but the same.
Yeah.
And so just a couple other things on Michael Savage, then we start his son here. Well, first off, I guess he like got his start by, he was trying to write these right-wing books, and then he just sent a demo tape of himself to like 250 radio stations of him just like screaming in his bedroom.
That's right.
And yeah, finally he found one that would take him on. And you know, for those who don't listen, like he has a lot of catchphrases. Like he calls Rush Limbaugh "hush bimbo." He always refers to the red diaper doper babies. He refers to third world nations instead of third world nations. The intro talks about how the Michael Savage show contains adult content, adult language, and psychological nudity. And then like I remember reading about this at the time when he would do live shows like, you know, like 2004 2005, like around the time of the, or, you know, just after the Iraq war started. He would at his live shows play the video of Nick Berg getting beheaded with like the screams and everything.
Oh my.
You know, so
God, like one of the most horrifying videos I've ever seen.
You're a veteran truck driver. It's like a Fallujah vet or someone.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my God.
In 2016, 2006, Michael Savage said on the topic of Muslims, quote, "They say, oh, there's a billion of them. I say, so let's kill 100 million of them. Then there will be 900 million of them. I mean, would you rather die? Would you rather us die than them?" And, you know, in addition to like the thing that he got in a lot of trouble for where he Talked about autism being fake. He also talked about like,
oh, that's the one he got in trouble for.
It is crazy that like in 2006, like you could say that, like you could just be like, we need to kill like just like 10% of Muslims, and it's like, yeah, you could still like, fucking like, brisk iced tea will still advertise on your show.
And so he got in trouble for saying autism is fake. The kids are just 99% of the time, the kids are just brats who need to be told to cut it out. And then in 2014, he also said PTSD among veterans is fake.
That's right, yeah.
He said, quote, everyone has depression in their life, but if the whole nation is told boo hoo hoo, come and get a medication, come and get treatment, talk about mental illness, you know what you wind up with? You wind up with Obama in the White House and liars in every phase of the government. That's what you wind up with. It's a weak, sick nation, a weak, sick, broken nation, and you need men like me to save the
That's right.
Never been in the military.
Incredible.
You need men to stand up and say, stop crying like a baby over everything. No wonder we're being laughed at around the world. No wonder ISIS can defeat our military, unquote.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I mean, he's an incredible mind, Michael Savage.
That's, man, someone needs to stand up and say something. I love him. I can't, it's like, I used to get so mad about, like, I was like, this guy's disgusting. And now it's like, no, he's just him. You just got to let him be him. He should get on Patreon. My ideal, I want to do like a series of interviews where I like, first I want to interview Judge Joe Brown.
Yeah.
My favorite guy in the world.
Oh, he rocks.
Him in Buckbreaking was so good. He was so good in that movie.
He was involved in the Martin Luther King assassination trial. The trial where they found there was a conspiracy. Judge Joe Brown, you can see videos of him talking about it.
Yeah. I want to like do I wish like our subreddit still existed, because I want to do an interview with him that's like 4 hours long where I don't challenge anything. And I also like want to do that with Michael Savage.
Yeah.
I want to do just like interview like old guys who like they're the last guys who like believe their type of conservatism.
Yeah, it's like, talk about how like the U.S. military needs men like you.
Yeah,
just go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt. I'm not going to challenge anything. Let's hear about it.
The Nixon tapes.
So Michael Savage, the guy we're talking about for this entire hour, this is the dude who raises Russ Weiner, the billionaire we're actually covering today. But boy, his dad is a fucking cornucopia of information. I love that guy. But to go on to Russ Weiner's childhood, we got some more from Sean.
Yeah, so like Russ Weiner's actually mostly kind of avoided the press, unsurprisingly. But you know, he finally granted, I believe, his first interview like since his political campaign to Forbes magazine in 2014. He grants it to Abram Brown of Forbes magazine, and the guy writes a hit piece on him. But you know, it's like it's kind of the theme with Russ Weiner and Michael Weiner, and apparently his grandfather, because you know Michael Savage talks about his father abusing him.
Right.
It's basically all like father, like son, like grandfather.
Yeah.
Like just a quote from this 2014 piece about Russ Weiner from Forbes magazine, quote, "One former executive says Weiner pays his lieutenants well and has to, given how difficult he is to work with. A few managers recall such legends as the groom reduced to tears on his wedding weekend after a call from Weiner, and the executive forced to fire people on Christmas Eve to please the boss." Quote, "character assassination," says Weiner.
Rockstar's a Jewish company. Christmas Eve's another day. Like, fuck it. My family is one of those Jewish families who enjoys Christmas. It's still just another day.
Yeah.
I'm doing emails on Christmas. It's not a religious day for me.
You're grinding when everyone else is celebrating.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, like we've talked about a lot on this podcast, like Forbes, most billionaires, they'll give a self-made score like out of 10. And so like the basic story of how Russ Weiner got the money to found Rockstar is he took a $50,000 mortgage on his condo, and then it's like, oh, how do you get that condo? Nobody will tell you. His fucking dad bought him his condo.
His dad like screamed at him about like the NBA being like the professional thug league, and like cried on a phone call for 45 minutes and was like, "Anyway, Russie, you just graduated UCLA. You need a place to stay. Buy you a condo."
But yeah, Forbes gives Russell Weiner an 8 out of 10 self-made score.
Okay. Oh, good for him.
Nice,
Good for him.
But yeah, one former employee says, quote, "Russ is a very hard guy to work for, and without the right guys, the company can't grow well." You know, there's like the article, the 2014 Forbes article speculates about like why Rockstar was a distant third place. And there's a few different reasons, but one of it is like, the guy's a fucking psychopath. You wouldn't want to work for this person. And so the interview continues. Just one other excerpt before I start like the actual chronological. The interviewer, Abram Brown, meets him on his 161-foot yacht, the Blind Date, in Manhattan. It was soon after rechristened Rockstar, and later it was crushed by a bridge in Miami. He meets Wiener, his parents, his girlfriend, and a 10-person crew in Manhattan's Chelsea Piers for a week's vacation. And then Russ Wiener says, quote, I get very depressed going out in Manhattan because there wasn't any Rockstar anywhere. You can't find it.
Same, dude.
Not because
true.
Not because it was sold out, but because it's seldom sold at all. His larger competitors, Red Bull and Monster, have utterly swamped his brand. Wiener blames the stores. Quote, they're saying they don't need anything more. His rivals' unyielding grip on the market, quote, it's hard for us to break through, and brand loyalty that seems out of his control. Quote, how do you shift someone from one thing to basically the same thing? Quote, you get more than a faint sense of victimhood.
Just a tip for our listeners. If you're in Manhattan and looking for a Rockstar, you have to go to a Target.
Yes.
That's right.
Cool. Yeah, none of the bodegas have them.
No, well, they can't afford the shelf space.
They listen to me. Like, dude, like all that time ago, that guy contacted all the other bodega owners and was like, this is the most evil man in the world. You can't have Rockstar. It worked. I changed the world.
But it is like, I mean, it is incredible to me, like how much the same person these all are, where it's like every problem with Rockstar, like why you can't find it in Manhattan, is somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
He's at this time running the company, and it's always somebody else's fault.
And he literally, he sounds like his dad too, where it's like, it's hard not to develop a victim complex.
Right.
Like to say that in like a business publication.
But yeah, Russell Golden Cloud Wiener is born 1970 in California. He went to Redwood High School in Marin County. And then, like, you know, another thing we've noticed, all these fucking billionaires have their own, like, childhood entrepreneur bullshit story. Russ Wiener's is he founded his own yard service company when he was 8 years old. As a teenager at 15 years old, Wiener also worked at a Wendy's drive-through window. And that's like, you know, they have to have something of them working in their lives before it's like, yeah, my dad gave me a loan and I like bought a flavor from like a guy who designed them for Sky Vodka, basically.
It would be awesome being like a young Russ Wiener working at the Wendy's drive-thru when your dad comes in.
Right. Rossi.
Yeah. Your dad comes in and like orders like lobster bisque to like prove some stupid point. Like tries to go through the window to fight the cashier.
5'3", standing out there.
He would fit through, actually.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. He would get it. It would be like those Sable videos I like when they're jumping through like a window.
But yeah, so Russ Wiener, after like apparently the only job he's ever had at a Wendy's drive-through window, he gets a degree in poli-sci from San Diego State. He hawked spring break trips to Cancun and Honolulu to high school students. And then at age 28, he followed his talk radio bomb thrower father into conservative politics and made a doomed run for the California State Assembly seat. And I believe, Andy, you had a bit of research on his 1998 run for California State Assembly.
Yes. Yeah. The best source I got on it was smartvoter.org, run by the League of Women Voters. If you go to smartvoter.org, you'll get redirected. I guess the main website isn't there anymore, but if you go to smartvoter.org/1998 June/CA state vote Wiener R, they still have his campaign information page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so it says here, this information is provided by the candidates. So we've got biographical highlights, party, Republican, occupation, consultant producer. And then third bullet point, Redwood High School. Fourth bullet point, San Diego State University, BA Political Science. Fifth, co-founder of the Paul Revere Society with radio talk show host Michael Savage.
Nice.
So he's basically name dropping his own father as though he's not his father.
Right. Yeah.
Like he's just friends with a famous man. Top priorities if elected: end bilingual education, promote intensive English courses, save Prop 13, keep a cap on property taxes, and environment, protect old growth redwood forests. Key endorsements. First one, radio talk show host Michael Savage. Second, Shannon Reeves, president of Oakland NAACP.
Oh.
Third.
How did that happen?
I tried to find out. I couldn't find anything. Third key endorsement, my mom.
That's, I mean, like the NAACP, I mean, like this is, Russ has always tried to like stop the division in America.
Yeah.
I'm going to run a racist campaign, but get endorsed by the local NAACP. That's like, no, dude, he's trying.
Yeah.
He's fucking trying.
It's possible the Shannon Reeves was like an old college friend or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
The Paul Revere Society is just, I looked at that a little bit, and it's basically just Savage's slush fund.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they actually got the IRS sued them for tax evasion.
Yeah, in his apparently during the debate he waived his Paul Revere Society card. The card for the society that he created with his dad, and then in 2006 it lost its tax exempt status.
Yeah.
And according to this blog post in the Daily Kos, which was written by someone named Jewy, I don't know why, but it's still up with a disclaimer that the editorial or that it was not edited by people on the Daily Kos, but it cites actual like nonprofit tax returns. The expenses that they list include $1,948 in rental cars, $10,181 in bank fees, $3,699 in entertainment, $750 for security service, $85,154 in fundraising solicitations.
Oh, great.
$8,653 for internet services.
Internet costs $8,000.
Of course.
Yeah. $19,984 in office expenses. $4,500 for telephone service. $9,000 in quote outside services. $520 in travel. $13,000 in postage. And $3,000
How
in
much
storage.
are you mailing? $13,000.
Yeah.
So he's also got some policy papers on smartvoter.org, which is it's his policy paper on traffic. It's about 4 sentences. Highway 101, widen from Santa Rosa to San Rafael, light rail system, yes.
Oh, all right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What a progressive.
And more ferry terminals.
That's how we got the
increased hours.
NAACP endorsement.
Yeah.
More ferry
Public
terminals.
transit.
Nice.
And then, by the way, the capitalization is all over the place on his official campaign literature. And then his education policy paper, again, bilingual education, eliminate, promote intensive English courses, give immigrant children a real chance to succeed in America, one language, one nation, unity. Teachers, higher standards and higher pay, parental rights, yes. School districts, keep them locally controlled. That's in bold. Stop the dumbing down of our children. Kids need to spend their time learning, reading, writing, arithmetic, not the agendas of special interests. So he actually won the Republican primary. I was going to keep throwing numbers, but the vote count here is great. So there were 3 candidates. One was Pastor Peter Romanowski. He got 5,018 votes. The second place, this guy Sullivan, he got 13,958 votes. And then Weiner got 13,963 votes. He won by 5.
Wow. Hell yeah, dude. It's a savage nation, baby.
Oh yeah. And then he lost in the general. And Michael Savage blamed anti-Semitism.
Right. Yeah. What a great family.
Yeah, apparently he got 30.5% of the vote in this run in the general election. And later he would donate, I think, he tried to donate a bunch of money to Gavin Newsom, Russ Weiner did, and Gavin Newsom had to return the donation because of inflammatory comments he had made during his 1998 run. But yeah, so according to Forbes magazine, the campaign did catch the eye of Michael Savage's friend Maurice Kanbar, who's the founder of Sky Vodka. Right. He quickly hired Russ Weiner to work for Sky Vodka after this loss here. And he says, Russ Weiner says to Forbes, quote, he saw I had the guts to stand up with the American flag. and people cursing my name. And we do the general story is basically Russ Weiner is working for Sky Vodka from I think 99 to 2001 or so. Forbes says Weiner suggested that Sky develop its own energy drink. Maurice Canbar was not that interested. So Weiner quits, and then quoting from Forbes, his breakthrough was thinking cheaper and bigger. A 16-ounce can, usually reserved for beer, at $2, the price of an 8-ounce Red Bull and other rivals. Before taking out the $50,000 mortgage on his condo, Weiner rented a computer at Kinko's where he designed the logo and engaged flavor companies, which worked for free, he claims, because of his connection to Canbar, to develop recipes. He went through 700 varieties before finding one slightly sweeter than Red Bull, but packing the same punch, 80 milligrams of caffeine. And it's, it's funny, occasionally you'll hear him referred to as the inventor of Rockstar. Sure. Literally, he just went through the Rolodex of Sky Vodka, contacts and was like, yeah, send me your flavors. Yeah. I will pick one I like and use my dad's money to launch this company.
The other thing I read was that the brand of Rockstar would feature the concept of fast recovery time of those who lead a very exhausting life from being an athlete to a rock star. The company has a very clear image of its target audience. Basically the main thing is I'll make a cheaper Red Bull. I think that I can convince Americans that a Red Bull that's cheaper would work. And he wasn't wrong. A Las Vegas-based energy drink that appeals to the rock star in you. Yeah, that's going to work.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, the 16-ounce cans.
There's more of it.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I think Americans will actually respond to that.
Right. No, he's Michael Bloomberg's arch nemesis.
By the way, I've got one last thing from his campaign that I forgot to mention.
Yes.
On campaign contact information, he lists his website as www.goldfever.com/belly/assembly/rust.htm, which now if you go to Gold Fever, it's a hair extensions website.
Oh.
But
we sold the website
with a pretty lady. But in 1998,
less racist, but more slaves.
It's like a how to make websites website with links to learn HTML.
Well, he was helping people.
Yeah.
He's always tried to help
right.
people.
That's right. He's good to his core.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have the demons his dad has, and they both want to make the world better. Have they made the world better? No. Are they trying? Sort of. One is, dude, he at least taught people how to make websites. That's more than a lot of people have done.
But so we have audio of Russ Weiner calling his father's show on the morning of September 11th. It's about 3 minutes long, maybe just over. And we think we'll just play all of it because, it does give you a window into both of their mindsets. And this is right around the time he first launched Rockstar.
Russ on the Savage Nation, welcome.
Hello, Dad. How are you?
How do you feel today? On the line is Russ Savage, son of Michael Savage, a different generation with a different perspective. How do you see this?
Well, I'll tell you right now, when I ran for California State Assembly 3 years ago, at the end of my campaign, after I won the primary, then lost the general election in a liberal area, I wrote a poem, and it basically went like this, is that liberals will lay in the sun until they get skin cancer. They'll eat fatty foods till they'll have a heart attack. They'll drink till they have liver cancer, and they'll vote liberal until the country is gone. People don't react until it's too late.
This is on 9/11.
Human nature, and that's the liberal nature. It's a tragedy, but we knew it was coming. The conservative movement always knew this day was going to come, but we prayed it wouldn't come this fast. That's the reality of this. We all knew it was going to happen. We just prayed it wouldn't happen.
What is it that you would do as a young man? You've not fought in a war. You weren't in Pearl Harbor. Neither was I. What would you do today?
Well, I did. I thought about going out on the sides of the freeways and holding up an American flag and just doing anything I could do. I know what we all want to do, but we can't do that. Everyone has emotions of hate and anger right now.
Now, you have a friend who works for a major financial brokerage. Tell us about that, will you, Russ?
Morgan Stanley had, I think, 50 floors of one of the buildings. Everyone in there is gone. And Merrill Lynch, I think, occupied 50 to some other crazy amount of floors in another building.
Where? In the World Trade Center? They were in that building, 50 floors?
Each, at least, and they're both gone off the earth. And now how do you rebuild something when there could have been trillions of dollars of money we don't even know about and records, and it's unfathomable how deep this really gets. But instead of focusing on this, we got to talk about what people should do right now to stick together. I think immediately everyone should have a contact of at least 200 people that they can call and set an emergency meeting place in their local area in case things get bad. We don't know what could happen. There could be bombs in every city waiting to go off. We have no idea, truthfully. No one wants to talk about that reality. But the truth is there could be 50 bombs. There could be anthrax waiting to be dropped in rivers. We don't know what could go on. And if anyone thinks you're nuts for even thinking about this, then tell them to go to hell. But you have to talk to the people that have any brains on their shoulders, which is 1/3 of the country, and get a network together of all your close friends and people you can trust that can talk and be ready in case things go down, because it could go down really badly, and it could happen.
And you raise a very, very important point, Russ. We have been trying to stop the flood of illegals into this country. We know that many of the terrorists came in through Mexico and through Canada. We've been screaming about it for 6 years on the radio. We've been called racist. We've been called every name under the sun. We were right all along, Russ. The problem is that the leadership never, ever accepted what I was saying. Never.
The conservatives that listen to you need to tell their liberal friends they caused this problem. But their stupidity and their foolishness and trusting everyone like they're a stupid 5-year-old, that everyone is fair and nice in the world. Idiots. They're nothing short of fools. And from now on, if you ever hear someone talk up openly the wrong way about America, they either be, I can't tell you what should happen to these people, but they should be ridiculed in public and told them, you don't forget what happened this day in America. That's what it has to be.
Yes, it's a time for us to come together as Americans. Borders, language, culture. Borders, language, culture. Borders, language, culture. I've been trying to warn the people that we are a nation. Perhaps we will still come together as a nation. God bless America. God bless you, Russ. I will see you after the show.
Keep up the fight, Michael. We all count on you every day.
What a beautiful relationship they have.
Yeah. There's so much great there. Like, first of all, he mentions anthrax before the anthrax attack.
That's right.
Which, cool. Good job, buddy. But I also like that he says, like, only 1/3 of the country has brains, which perfectly matches his California vote total.
I do love how they're clearly, it's 9/11, and they're like, this proves I was right the whole time.
This is the day to yell at your liberal friends about how you were right and they were wrong.
He's like, basically implying you should like kill your friend. If they're like, if they like badmouth America, you should kill them. And he's like, but wait, like we're gonna come together. One language, one culture.
I love when he's like, well, what do you think your generation should do military wise? Well, I thought about it. I thought about going and holding up the American flag, as if that's like a bold move on 9/11 to really empower the masses.
But then he said, well, you can't do that. And it's like tons of people did that.
A whole bunch of people
did that
definitely
stupid
did
shit.
Yeah. And neither one of them called each other son or father.
Right. Thank you. I'll see you later, Michael.
Yeah. I'll see you later at home where you live still with me.
He called him Russ Savage.
That's
the best part. Yeah. Like, not like, oh yeah, he has a different last name.
But there is a bit of believing in the egos that they both portray. Like he can't call his dad because that would like destroy the image of him, even though everyone knows that it's his son and father relationship there.
But yeah, so around the same year, 2001, as we mentioned, he launches Rockstar Energy with a $50,000 mortgage on his condo. He apparently, he would drive around San Francisco in an old limo in which he painted the Rockstar logo. And it's like, again, this is what we see again and again with these billionaires. He had, through his father, he had the connection to Can Bar over at Sky Vodka that we mentioned, Maurice Can Bar. Through Can Bar, he had connections to beverage distributors.
Right.
So using his connections with Can Bar, he brought on Southern Wine and Spirits to distribute the drink. Apparently Dr. Pepper joined as well. He brought in about $2.8 million in the first year. So he did well, but it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, if your dad wasn't a fucking millionaire talk show host, this never would have happened. And apparently, according to Forbes, quote, he kept his inner circle close, first hiring friends with little beverage experience. He says, quote, Russ Weiner says, quote, this company was like a fraternity, he recalls fondly. It even had a house mother. His mother, Janet, became CFO, even though her finance background consisted mostly of once running an herb store. She says, quote, I've always worked for myself. We work well together. We have a really good harmony. Yeah, he made his mother CFO and gave her 15% of the company. Of course. And he owned the other 85%.
From this one article I found that after he came up with the idea in 2001, it took him 7 years to get a hold of a good market. In 2008, he would have 14% of the share in the United States. So it still would take 7 years, even with all of these connections and leg ups, for him to actually turn this into owning just 15% of the U.S. market, which is really, I mean, it's not nothing, but it's so tiny compared to the amount of leg ups he had.
Yeah, apparently, like, again, from this 2014 Forbes piece, like, Rockstar was, like, you know, a rocket for its first, like, 6 years. It was bringing in a lot of revenue, but then, like, it started to decline, quote, Rockstar has been stuck in an orbit that Wieners can't seem to blast out of. A major reason, he has starved the company of resources. Like, he refuses to spend money on advertising or, you know, anything, basically. And Wiener realizes that, sort of, quote, looking back, it's so easy to say spend more on marketing or investing in your brand. The more you spend, the more you return later, he recites. I would rather save my money. When I actually got real money, I put it in the bank. So basically, like, the reason he got his ass kicked by Monster and Red Bull is he just didn't spend any money on advertising.
Monster plastered that shit everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Monster was sponsoring, like, concerts
and Red Bull,
everything. They were everywhere.
Yeah, Red Bull had their like
sponsored at X Games.
Yeah, Red Bull
hosting it and shit.
They're like build your own airplane and crash it, and then jump out of a giant balloon.
The other thing that's tough about Rockstar is when you look up like Rockstar, like specifically for this episode, Savage, so many of the articles are like from people that are actual rock musicians to the video game company Rockstar.
Yeah.
Like, it's too generic of a name to pin anything to, but that's also why advertising it is a little tough. But then there's that like Shopboy song in like 2007 or 10 called Party Like a Rockstar.
Yeah, right.
And then Rockstar just took that for their own slogan.
Yeah, they just threw that on the cans.
Yeah, Party Like a Rockstar. This is
But
us.
they could have done so much with that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
No, yeah, we're just gonna take the slogan.
And that's like Rockstar could have given them $100,000, which they would have happily taken, and then they're in the video or on concerts promoting it. But after that song, just about, is you see a departure from like the athlete and the rock star that's being fueled by it, and more just like put it in video games, put it wherever, we don't care, whatever's willing to fucking have us, let's throw our fucking brand on it, because it's the like comedy club mentality of like whatever's cheap, just do fucking that.
My friend Keith Buckley is the lead singer of Every Time I Die. And he showed us this picture once of like when like the last Warped Tour, they were drinking this shit called Monster Tour water.
I've heard about this, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, dude, they're in everything.
Mhm.
They're everywhere.
Mhm.
They're making sure you see it.
Yeah.
They're making sure like every ETID fan sees it. They're making, everyone, it's going to be a part of your life.
And
Rockstar never did that.
I think that for Savage to come up with this idea, for Wiener to come up with this idea at vodka, you see the marriage of Red Bull and alcohol to where it's not even like they don't have to fucking do anything. They're in bars. So that makes it so you're going to sell your product forever. And I think Wiener is like, we should just do that, because if we can get our energy drink in a bar, we're fucking made. And he didn't really do that, because I think there needs to be a pairing with Sky Vodka for that to occur that just never materializes.
Yeah.
Until Pepsi buys them, and now they're fucking worth $1 billion.
Well, yeah, you can't go into a bar and order like a vodka Rockstar.
right. Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny because, like, again, this original 2014 Forbes piece is like, I mean, it's a hit piece, but it's accurate.
Mhm.
But then he sells the company to Pepsi in like April 2020 and has another interview with Forbes where he's like, it's just the right time for me. I've been working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's like everything in this piece is like Wiener isn't a fan of long-term planning. He hates to schedule meetings, making appointments only a few days, if not a couple hours ahead of time.
That's like most of what you do at a company, by the way, is like just do meetings.
Right.
So it's like, what else is he doing?
Right. Exactly. He says, quote, Russ Wiener says, quote, it's very, very hard for me to focus on the future. With business, you can't do that. If you look too far ahead, you're going to lose in the here and now. And it's,
He still beat out Balls.
Yes, he did beat out Balls.
Yeah, Balls never wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Like not enough kids were gamers. It was still like a loser thing.
Yeah,
It was definitely like
They're ahead of their time.
to be a PC gamer was like the biggest loser thing. I know because I was one back then, but like, yeah, it just wasn't cool.
Right.
It wasn't like in Europe where it's like Bass Hunter had a song called Dota and he like kind of made it cool. It was like a little bit cool.
Sure.
Because it's like Bass Hunter
Right,
gets
right.
pussy. He's playing Dota.
Yeah.
But like here, nah.
No.
No,
You didn't want to do that.
Balls just like missed the window of like paying PewDiePie to drink one on camera or
Right,
something.
right.
Yeah.
All of this did happen just right before YouTube really hits its stride, where you could give an idiot fucking cases of something. They're like, yeah, I'll drink this on air. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because if this all happened in like 2012 to now, you would see probably 3 to 7 more energy drink brands that are just randomly popping up. Because I could find nothing on how Rockstar is actually manufactured. Like, there's no real information how they make this poison water, at least not on the internet. And
Afghanistan.
All unions.
right. But it shows
The warlords with the dancing toys.
it shows the profit margin where it's like, yeah, just write guarana on the side and fucking give it a cool logo, and anyone will drink it if it's cheaper than the
The
competition.
CIA gave Rockstar to their Afghan warlords contacts. Like, yeah, these will help you with your little Afghan. You could go all night.
The Taliban's opening fucking lockers and they're like, oh, it's just Rockstar in here. We thought they'd have Monster.
Yeah, the thing on
the new equipment.
Yeah, the thing they left out of the infographic was like they got 50,000 Toyotas and then like 500 million cases of Rockstar energy.
Oh my god.
Just like all marked up by like somebody who got a contract from Dick Cheney or whatever. Like, yeah, Rockstar, that's $10 a bottle.
It is. That's probably how it is, right? Like, it's like all the troops they probably really just want Monster.
Yeah.
That's really what. Because it's like Red Bull's that's number one, right?
Yeah, Red Bull's one. Yep.
Number one, because it was here first. It's like basically like for a lot of people, they synonymize Red Bull with energy drink. Probably the best looking can. But then, like, Monster, dude, in the middle of the country, we're riding for Monster. My favorite thing, dude, my friend, he lived like 6 hours north of Minneapolis, or he didn't live there. Like, his parents were farmers. They lived like 6 hours north in fucking, even for people who know Minnesota, north of Bemidji.
Right.
Like, for what Bemidji is to the Twin Cities, their fucking town was Bemidji to Bemidji. It was fucking nothing. And, like, our favorite thing to do, we would drive up there because, like, you need help when like it's negative 40 that far north to like bring the cows in.
Right.
And we were like 20, 21. And it's like, dude, we would just drive up, fucking drinking all these Monster rehabs. That was the best shit in the world. I love that. That was the best. We listened to like 2013 Deezus and Mero.
Yeah, right.
That was a great time.
Just fucking adrenaline to your fucking max and doing the most mundane things. It's weird because I'm not surprised at the lack of attention that kids are facing now, because for the last like 15 years, it's just been take 800 milligrams of caffeine and go to your office job. Like, of course, people are just fucking batshit right now.
Oh yeah. Like, I got introduced to Monster like studying for a physics AP test. And this guy Joseph was like, "Oh man, great way to study, Monster energy drink. It gets me." So I was like, "Well, I gotta try this out. Joseph's great." And then like,
Monster is like, it has been my go-to when I'm on tour, and it's like, if you're on tour for like a month, even if like I generally keep like decent habits on tour, I like don't drink really, and like my other vices, like drug wise, like I try not to like overdo it, And still though, like if you're doing it for a month, like going to a different place like every day or every other day like fucks you up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I just drink one fucking Monster before the show. I'm ready.
Yeah, right.
It's good for you.
The guarana just takes care of you.
Yeah, they have the best guarana. Like the Red Bull guarana isn't as good. I've tried everything. Monster's the best.
No, if people want to know the secret to my success, it's 2 sugar-free Monsters every single morning.
Yeah, so we can bank on like 10 more years of Andy and the Patreon.
Yeah.
Before that heart attack.
That's a little much. That's like a lot.
Yeah, Felix is telling me.
Even for me, that's a lot of Monster.
Here's the thing, though. It's when I have a Red Bull, that's when I'm like, okay, that was a weird heartbeat. Like, it shouldn't be doing that.
Because it's like withdrawal.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like you went from like black tar to like half a perk.
Right.
You're taking your same fix, but it's like, oh, I don't like feel as much.
Right. Or it's like, no, we want the real stuff, so we can keep going.
You need to put the right engine oil in you, and now it's the 2 rugs.
I'm going to LA like in a couple weeks, and it's like I'm always like fucked up like landing in like that specific jet lag.
East Coast to West Coast, yeah.
It's going to Germany, not as bad for me. Like going to LA always ruins me. You know what I can still find anywhere in the country? Monster.
That's right.
I can't wait. I'm just gonna, dude. I'm gonna feel fucked up. I'm gonna take one Monster rehab. I'm good to go. I'm good to go into those meetings and be like, Mr. Singer, Mr. Geffen, I would love to work with you.
And they're like, a monster man, just like us.
You know what this symbol means, right?
But yeah, like, I mean, it's weird to say about a guy worth like 4.1 billion, but he could have made more money. He certainly could have made more money for people who worked at his company, but he was just like fucking lazy, a huge asshole to work for, and extremely tight-fisted. So like, as of 2014, according to Forbes, Monster's revenue was about 3.5 times larger than Rockstar's. And then, you know, Red Bull was even like a little bit more than that. And so Forbes quotes some executives at Rockstar who spoke on background. Other executives didn't groove on the same vibe as Weiner and complained about Weiner's control and tight-fistedness. Quote, he just doesn't give us any marketing money, sighs one ex-lieutenant. It's tough to compete when you don't have a marketing budget, and Red Bull does. Rockstar spends an estimated 4% of its sales on advertising and marketing, while Monster shells out about 8%. Weiner targets a tiny audience via sponsorships of extreme athletes like BMX rider TJ Yonk Ellis and skier Alex Alki Bellemare. Television, radio, internet ads, not a chance. We don't have advertising. We don't have an advertising agency, boasts Weiner. Everything we do is on our own. And it's just like, he could have just made himself more money by spending, you know, more on marketing and advertising.
There is so many ways you could see how he could have made like $30 billion.
Of course.
If it was like make streamers drink it. Like, streamers are cheap.
Oh, yeah.
You give a streamer like $70,000.
But he's also in that age where he's just slightly too old to know that the amount of people, because he's like, you know, he's enamored by his dad, who obviously had the like fucking 200 million listeners or whatever. So those numbers don't impress him. But in the internet world, people will buy anything a streamer's fucking hawking. It doesn't fucking matter.
He's what, 51?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, born 1970.
He got $5 billion. Subtract like, you know, let's say 40% all the taxes, brings him down to 10%. You know, he can only spend like $100 million a year if he wants to live to 80.
I mean,
that sucks.
Yeah,
that's I couldn't imagine. Yeah, maybe when I was like 22, I could have done that.
Sure,
not now.
No.
Yeah. You can't get a new plane every year.
You have to spend at least $1 million a day.
That's not rock star living, you know?
Yeah, that's really not living like a rock star. So he's like, now his thing is like he'll like
real estate.
Yeah, like the mansion that like Tyga got repossessed in between his comeback. He's like, okay, I'm gonna like flip that for like $3 million more.
Yeah, like since selling to Pepsi as of like 2 weeks ago, according to therealdeal.com, he paid more than $35 million for 2 waterfront properties in Miami Beach. He paid like $17 million for 511 Pine Tree Drive and $18.1 million.
He's still not working, but working.
Right. I mean, it's just this idea that you have to like be doing something.
And you know it's his dad being like, well, what are you going to do now?
Right.
It's like, I guess I'll just buy houses.
Yeah, his job is just finding new houses for himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. He's buying like beachfront property in Miami. Like, yeah, that's a good investment, buddy. You're really smart. But yeah, so just a couple more things from this 2014 Forbes article. Rockstar has lost plenty thanks to Weiner's irascibility. Not long after starting a distribution deal with Coca-Cola in 2005, when his sales were $215 million, he was unhappy with the relationship. Quote, they were focusing on vitamin water. They kept trying to make their own energy drinks, Weiner recalls. We'd fight with each other, scream at each other, unquote. One former Rockstar executive says that Weiner's promotions were another source of irritation. Quote, Russ likes to use beautiful models and Coca-Cola didn't appreciate that much. Weiner denies the advertising was a problem. Coke won't comment. The relationship unraveled in 2009 and Rockstar signed a new distribution deal with PepsiCo.
Right.
And it's like, you can look up online, a lot of the advertising for Monster is literally just Russ Weiner's like dumb face and then like surrounded by a bunch of like attractive women in bikinis. Which like, if you're trying to market energy drinks to females, that's not really going to help you that much.
I also like the logo of Rockstar, the double R's that are backwards. Do you guys remember that like tracksuit brand that was like two women sitting back to back that was hot for like 10 years? The Rockstar logo looks basically the same. And
that's a cool logo too.
It's, you know, I saw someone rocking it like 2 months ago, and there was kids looking at him like, what the fuck are you wearing? Because they don't have any context for how hot that was, you know?
That was the shit back then.
It really was.
I wish I was like 5 years younger. I'd wear a t-shirt with that on. I think the new thing now is like to wear like huge t-shirts.
Yeah.
I've never really had the body type to do that, but like, dude, if that's 5 years younger, yeah.
Huge t-shirts with gigantic logos are kind of in right now.
Yeah. I'd be going to fucking Moodring and Bushwick wearing that. Let's go.
The funny thing too that like the executive clearly isn't saying, but is still kind of saying is like, yeah, the advertising strategy under Russ was get Russ laid.
You know what's awesome is that the Bang guy is like, he's fully doing that. Like Bang's only advertising is like advertising on some conservative stuff, and then mostly like they're like disgusting like leather skinned CEO who wears a Bang chain, like hanging out with like Instagram models.
Yeah. But yeah, so they he loses the Coca-Cola deal through, you know, his own idiocy, and sales immediately plunge after they get the new distribution deal. But I just like, you know, this this other thing from the Forbes article contrasts so well with his quote about like, I was working 24 hours a day for 20 years. He says, a quote, Wiener usually operates as an absentee landlord through a cascade of emails and phone calls from his homes in California and Florida, which he shares with 4 white poodle cocker spaniel mixes. He once described an executive vice president's job as, quote, gets what I want done. All sales agreements with major Rockstar customers like 7-Eleven and Walmart require his approval. When a snowboarder asked for $1 million in sponsorship cash, Wiener personally axed the deal. And it's just like, yeah, he just sits at home and like calls people and sends email while they're doing the actual job of running Rockstar, and apparently like schedules everything last minute. And then he's like, yeah, I was just grinding for 20 straight years.
And whenever he does make a personal decision in the company, it's always like the wrong decision.
Yeah. And this guy has an 8 out of 10 on Forbes.
Yeah.
Forbes is like, this guy, he fucking did it himself.
Yep. No, I mean, like, we've learned, like, the Vanderbilts get, like, a fucking 6 out of 10. On Forbes.
Yeah. Do you know the stuff about his wife?
Russ Wiener's wife?
Yeah.
I didn't really have that, no.
His wife has some, like, bullshit, like, wellness charter school in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And she was on the news because she, like, sent an email that was like, if you get the vaccine, you're fucking fired. And then she they like interviewed her, and she like she's like one of those women who like just looks like fillers with a pair of eyes. like we were talking about kind of. And she was on the news and she was like, no, I was saying that anyone can get the vaccine, but they have to get it in summer.
Oh, what?
Fucking rocks, dude.
What a like perfect family.
Yeah,
perfect family. I bet fucking Michael loves her.
I bet Janet hates her.
Janet probably is like disgusting.
Fucking
Like, what she did to her face, gross.
Right.
And then the closing paragraph of this Forbes article: if Rockstar, this is written in 2014. If Rockstar stays in a rut, Wiener will probably blame it on somebody else, just as he has with everything else that's gone wrong at the company, his election loss 16 years ago, and a swap he made as a kid that he still regrets. And then it quotes Russ Wiener saying to a Forbes magazine interviewer, I traded a Willie McCovey error card for 2 Fernando Valenzuela rookie cards, he recalls, referring to the first baseman who then played for the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers pitcher. That was the first time I got screwed on a deal.
He's like the anti-Trump. Yeah. He like remembers every fuck up. It's like, it's not the art. It's like the art of the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's perfected it.
But yeah, so as I mentioned, you know, he sells to Pepsi April 2020. He tells Forbes at that time, it shows the American dream is still alive and well. It shows Pepsi has faith in the future and they believe in what we created. It is a bright light in the middle of this hellstorm. He sold for $3.85 billion. And
it's during Corona, it's like, hey, the world's like fucked up right now, but like I was able to sell the worst energy drink company. Oh my God. What a great person.
It's wonderful. He says, it's, quote, it's perfect timing in my life right now. I'll have enough money to do pretty much whatever I want in life and not put my nose to the grindstone.
Oh, finally you can like, you've had it too hard for too long, Russ. Finally.
I was running this business 24 hours a day for the past 20 years. I was never not working, unquote. And at that time, he said it's too early to think of his next steps, but the mother, Janet, who again was the CFO and owned 15%, he says his mother will, quote, devote her life to helping animals through animal rescues and protecting wildlife. This fits in with the family's Yakok Organic, which Wiener launched in late 2017 as a natural alternative to Rockstar. Profits go towards protecting endangered species and the environment.
What's wild is Michael Savage is the poorest member in his family now, I think.
Yeah,
his mom's got
that's right,
the money from this. Son, obviously a billionaire. I think he's got a daughter who might not have made any money.
He does have a daughter, yeah.
But in terms of rich people in his family, he's now number 3, just like Rockstar. Wow. Synchronicity.
That's a point in his favor.
So the mom made like 10% of $5 billion. She made like $600 something million.
Right.
Yeah.
She's loaded. Michael like probably made a decent penny from all his shit, but like not like that.
No, I saw a net worth for Michael Savage. It's about 18 million, which is like,
that's good
for a radio host and
That's
for what
it?
he was. Yeah.
Damn.
That's
makes
good.
sense,
That's good if you're a fucking loser.
Yeah,
That's what I made my first year of media. I got an equity stake in Genius when I was doing those annotations.
He's worth 18 million because he spent like 10 million on lawyers fighting to get allowed into the United Kingdom.
People sued him for forcing him to have dinner when he was brandishing a gun in his face.
Yeah.
It is cool that a guy like that got to make $18 million.
Yeah.
That's
like
the
a guy
American
that
way,
fucked
baby.
up. That's the real fuck Russ. Like the real American dream is that you are like, in any place you've ever been, you're the most fucked up guy. It doesn't matter if you're on like the Lower East Side of New York in the 40s. It doesn't matter if you're in Fiji. It doesn't matter if you're at Berkeley. It doesn't matter if you're on in the stratosphere of conservative radio show hosts. You're the most fucked up one. Any room you've ever been in, no one's been more mentally ill than you. And you, $18 million, dude. Good work. You're the man.
And it's like
instead of the smartest guy in the room,
yeah.
the most fucked up guy in the room.
And it's interesting with like, Michael Savage himself, like, so I guess Russ Wiener, now that he's sold out, he's like trying to flip properties in Miami or wherever. Right. But like Michael Savage, like got, as we mentioned earlier, he got his Westwood One show canceled at like the early 2021. And it's just something where like, what did you say? He was like 70 something now. How old is he?
Michael 79.
79. So he's almost 80. But it's like a guy like that, he doesn't even care about the money. He just wants to talk to people and have somebody give a shit. So it's like after all this life he's lived, he's back where we are. Yeah. Where he's just going to be launching his own fucking podcast because he wants somebody to pay attention to him.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive that he managed to get a podcast canceled.
I will say to him right now, like, Michael, I will listen to you.
Call Felix personally.
I would be his friend. Like, I don't care. Like, I mean, yeah, he's bad. Okay. I've worked in media for 6 years. How many bad people do you think
right.
People I didn't even know how bad they were. And it's like, dude, I mean, he knows he's bad.
This is you making amends for the damage you did to Rockstar Energy Drink.
Yes. I just like him saving the elephants. I'm like, I need to all the bad stuff I said about your son's business.
Preserve access.
Yeah.
to Michael Savage.
There's like, as I mentioned, Felix had a great thread on Twitter. I was just reading some of like the replies to it. Like just Jacob Bakra writes, there's an amazing episode where Michael Savage starts a whole bit by complaining that white people are too deferential to the Asian staff of Japanese restaurants. And then he pivots to talking about how he is the world's foremost expert on seafood. At ToneLoke_Baker, Michael Savage's old website used to be 90% Al Qaeda beheading videos.
Oh,
and
wow.
10% singular pictures of it, pictures of his dog, a singular character. Then Borvis _ Savage's best bit is claiming he spoke to a citizen of country X who wants the U.S. to bomb it. So he would say, quote, spoke to my Iranian friend today, and they say, bomb. We want you to invade us. Oh, yeah. And then Panzer Time, at Panzer Time on Twitter. I remember one episode where he complained about the newspapers not having the right kind of rubber band on them anymore. Like the old ways. And then he segued to talking about how he wanted to put a confessional in his living room with a wax figure of himself in the priest booth.
It's fucking hard.
I know, man.
Well, like his wife should buy that for him now.
Yeah.
Like his wife could like get the best wax figurine of her husband made now. And it's like clearly like she's been like, you know, she's like, yeah, I know you can be like annoying and he's like the most hateful man in the world.
Yeah.
But like he's my husband. I love him. Like they're strong. Like Rush Limbaugh got married and divorced like 7 times.
Yeah.
Michael Savage, he had a right there. He's like fucking Little Dirk in India. How they like people try to do a home invasion and they like busted back with ARs.
Yeah.
That's Michael Savage and his wife.
And like, you know, in that salon piece, there are people that are like, well, he was like kind of a decent, nice guy. The people that worked at the radio station, they'd be like, he'd sometimes be like a friendly guy. And then every now and then he would just explode on the most random things. And it's kind of like comedians that love Brody Stevens. Like his material was okay, but when he would bomb, how mad he would get would just be fucking funnier than anything. Michael Savage has a similar thing where it's just like, these fucking rubber bands. Like, it's like a car crash. You can't look away. You're like, I can't stop looking at this. And I mean, this episode was supposed to be about Russ, and we spend most of it on fucking Michael Savage. Rightfully so. He's a fucking enigma.
Yeah, fuck Russ.
Yeah, Russ
sucks.
Russ didn't do anything.
Dude, it's like boomers versus Gen X. It's like we're supposed to talk about a Gen X guy, and it's like, yeah, what do you want? He like sucks.
Right.
His dad is the coolest man alive.
Yeah, it's like just by being a singular individual, he got his son all this money and all these connections, which allowed his son to like meet the people who pitched the flavors to Sky Vodka and be like, I like the taste of this. I'm a genius. I'll take my dad's money and, you know, market it using my connections that I got from my dad. And now I'm a billionaire. And that's just like, you know, it is the American dream, but it's like, yeah, the fucking kid is not that interesting in that story.
He's not. No, he's not even like the most interesting energy drink company founder. And it's not like a really interesting bunch.
No.
It's like, this really is like that the dad recorded tapes of him screaming in the bedroom. Like he was like sending out demo tapes of him being racist. And that led to like this.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the real story here. That's the real thing that's amazing.
It led to a 100-page document on commerce.senate.gov. The statement of Janet Weiner to the Senate Commerce Committee. It's 15 pages of her statement with images for comparison, followed by 85 pages of citations about how the FDA said that Rockstar is actually not bad for you.
Yeah, and like because of some of this stuff that Andy's bringing up, I think that originally Savage had like drink Rockstar, it's good, but then since there were lawsuits and stuff and conflict of interest, he had to be like, I've never promoted it, I'm completely separate from the company. I don't even know what Rockstar is. Like
I only have $18 million.
Yeah, I mean, Savage really was Rupert Pupkin, where he was just like in his basement recording tapes of him like screaming about whatever. It's just like he was like, well, if I do it about the border and the death of white males, then like I guess there is much more marketability in that than just like,
what is his slogan? Borders, culture,
language borders culture.
Language border. It's so perfect.
Yes.
He repeats it a few times in that 9/11 thing, but it's such a like a lot of people say Trump stole from them. I think Michael Savage definitely has a case that Trump stole from him because it's short slogans, outbursts that are ludicrous but also like understandable. The man's a savant. He really knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, Felix, I very much want to thank you for being here with us.
My absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I guess just like in closing, any closing thoughts on either Michael or his son? And also, you know, I know people I'm sure they know about Chapo Trap House, but anything you want to plug or just let the people know where they can find you.
Oh yeah, no. Chapo still exists. Still doing it.
I really much enjoyed your guys' Afghanistan episodes. Have been great, by the way.
Thank you.
I've loved them.
Thank you. We have some pretty cool shit coming up in the next couple months. We're trying to do like more shit for the Patreon. We see that, like, yes, we see Street Fight does like 50 tiers of shit. They like work way harder than us, honestly. We're going to be doing more shit. Like, I have a pretty interesting episode with Jack Wagner and T from Champagne Sharks. That'll be, I'm going to do at the end of the month. Matt and Will both have some really cool shit planned. So we're definitely going to be doing more with that. Check out Hell of Presidents that Matt and Chris Wade are doing. It's a great show about the history of the American presidency.
Very good.
But yeah, no, I had a great time. Thank you guys so much for having me.
And the future Michael Savage crossover. I think I'm looking forward to that.
I hope he's in the news again.
I can't wait. It's like, yeah, I mean, like, we'll see. Like, Russ Weiner is just going to be like a boring property flipper, like losing money on his $4 billion. Where it's like, if you just put it in like an S&P 500 index fund, he would make more money. But he's just going to like lose a bunch of money when like the hurricane comes next year.
Wouldn't wait. Said he wanted to wave American flag on 9/11, but he didn't. But he couldn't.
Yes, he wanted to.
Michael, like, they should, like, man, Nick should have Mike on Come Down.
He should.
Yeah. Like, why not?
That'd be like, you know, if you could get Nick, Sam Hyde, and Michael Savage in the same room, just like unite the fucking trident. Like this is. Let's see all of the personality types. But no, you know what? I'm very curious to watch what Michael Savage does with his podcast. So check out his Patreon tier. Like, he'll show you the rare beheading videos for $15 a month.
He'll send them to your door.
Hey, thank you for listening to Grubstakers. Check us out on Patreon. We always appreciate the support, and we love you. I'm Sean P. McCarthy.
I'm Yogi Powell.
I'm Andy Palmer.
I'm Steve Jeffers.
I'm Felix Biederman.
All right, have a good night. Thanks for listening.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to our episode. Sean McCarthy and Yogi Pollywall here. We're going to be doing some dates in Seattle and Portland coming up. In Portland, it's going to be September 16th at 8 p.m. at the Siren Theater. And in Seattle, it's going to be September 17th and 18th at the Rendezvous Theater. I have a few more dates on the 24th and 25th, but overall, check out our calendar dates on our Instagrams and on our Twitters, and come out and check us out in Portland, Seattle.
Yeah, please come see us do stand-up. If you thought I wasn't funny on this episode, just wait until you see me bomb at stand-up.
But at least in stand-up, they can heckle you live.
Yes.
It's not like they're yelling at their desk how
Yeah.
much they hate you.
And if you don't like my politics, come kill me. You got to buy a ticket, though.
Hey, it'll save me half a ride, so that works out for me, too. All right, thanks.